You could have heard this episode 48 hours early on our Patreon, patreon.com/indieheadspodcast. By joining us for as low as $1 a month, you'll see episodes early, gain access to our Discord server, and get yourself an Indie Heads podcast sticker. All of our upcoming episodes will be up on our Patreon, patreon.com/indieheadspodcast, 48 hours before it hits our public podcast feeds. But if you're hearing this via our Patreon feed, we want to thank you so much for your support. We especially want to thank all of our Patreon supporters, including Becca Etienne, Georgia Bukowski, James Boss, Marcy Anime, Chance Holdup, Delaney Mothman, Josiah Duncan, Jenna, Matt Cameron, Grant in the Back of My Dragula, Connie, Javon Clement, Jimmy Elward, Teague Christie, Charles, Nicole Rifkin, Tim's Discount Prices, Jay, Rena K, Ian, Matthew Taylor, I Like Books, Sarah Moore, Griff, Max Kapazinski, Mark Barry, Cal50, Titty Come Titty, Chris Wade, Midwest Maxwell, Jake Wald, Grant, Keep Autism Weird, Rob Marino, Max, Dylan, Zach, Gavin 490 Freak, Amber Grassi, and Maze Farms. And if you want to be amongst these names, consider supporting us on Patreon, where if you upgrade to the Real One tier, you'll receive a bonus episode every month on top of other perks. And before we move into the episode, I just want to thank the rest of our Patreon supporters like Jason Daphnis, Kevin Cookman, Ellie Mullenberg, Cheddars, Nato, Robin Parlow, Eric Chow, Josh, Holiday Kirk, Tyrone Shuhan, Jane Amjadi, Alexis Davin, Cody Gagan, Barely March, Vinka LaFleur, Will Griffin, Corbin Camage, Gavlin, Matthew, Ethan Sapir, Matthew McPherson, Rainey Donaldson, Eleanor Grams, Wilfer Thrill, GRS420, Lily, Jacqueline Kadiga, Alec Felder, Talks to Trees, Molly O'Brien, AJ Moser, Eraser Eye Baby, Matthew Herring, Jack Tiggleman, Sarah L., Jeremy Bull, Alex Gritchmanoff, and Derek Pemberton. Anyways, though, enjoy the episode.
Hello. Welcome back to Best New Podcast. It's the podcast about Pitchfork through the songs that they gave Best New Track to, most of them, almost all of them. And we're continuing this run through the 2010s, the music of the 2010s. And today is our first episode on 2014. Very exciting. We're cracking open a new book of songs here. And with me, as always, are my two co-hosts on this series, Matty and Rose.
Hear us out.
Yep.
Hear us out.
This is the first episode that we're recording in a post sushi glory hole world, and it's it is taking so much out of my system to just not dedicate at least the first half an hour to how genius that is. But we're not gonna do that. I'm
really excited for the special emergency episode on Saturday night, Matty. I know you're a big fan and you're really pumped about that movie, and I
low-key kind of am, though. I wouldn't say I'm pumped. I wouldn't say that I'm pumped. I'm just very curious because the reviews have not. There's no consistency because it's like some people fucking hate that movie. Some are like, I liked it, and then some think it's great. I'm just very curious how I will view it as someone that is very interested in the history of Saturday Night Live, but also I'm very interested in the history of Pitchfork, and that is what we're talking about on this episode.
What a transition!
And it is not just me. It's not just me, Rose and Jackie. We have some guests. First up, of course, returning to the show, Michael Brooks from Endless Scroll. Welcome back to the pod, Michael.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm excited to be back, and also excited for Saturday night. So I will join you there.
Thank you, Michael. One of us. And also joining us for the first time, again, someone that's been, circling the podcast circle for quite some time.
Circling
finally on the
circle.
pod. We have Aly Eleanor, writer for various places, including Post Trash, and most recently, Pitchfork. Yeah, your first Pitchfork byline.
Ryan Schreiber broke into my house and threatened me unless I wrote about ambient music. And
he's not around that site anymore. It's mine.
No, he still did it, and I listened.
It's a shadow
hometown hero.
It's a shadow empire, you know.
Yeah.
He's got to make you think that he's walked away, but secretly he's on the other side of the world pulling the strings. You know,
the Pitchfork deep state.
We worked at the same record store, so we have a permanent brain link.
God,
and I hate it.
Is he? I'm curious. Is he still doing that What's Next playlist?
Because he was
doing that for a while.
He is still updating that playlist, and it's like pretty. It's really funny because he just started making a playlist that is very clearly, this is what I would give Best New Track if I was still in charge. That's the whole vibe of the playlist.
Oh my god.
Let me see if I can. Let's see. Oh yeah, what's good?
What's good?
He's not updated since July. which I think because he's working on a book, so that might be the reason why he's not updating this.
Or maybe no good music has come out since July, Matty.
Yeah, I can believe.
Okay, it's possible.
The top song on here is "Bikini" by Nick Leon and Erica DeCassier. So I do have to hand it to him. He does when he's right, and that's what we're going to talk about today on this episode. Because as much as we razz on Pitchfork, it's because all of us, I think, collectively on this call, have spent too much time reading, listening to, and thinking about things that are covered on Pitchfork.com, and thinking about that coverage also. And we've got a real good crop of music today that I feel like we'll have a lot to say about. And why don't we just get right into it? I think that's what we should do.
Let's fucking do it. Our first song of the evening is going to be Real Estate's Talking Backwards. Did we talk about Real Estate at all during season 1 of the pod?
I don't think we did.
Yeah, I think this is no. I feel like their heyday was kind of like late 2000s, and then a little like Atlas is the comeback a little bit.
Yeah, which I think part of the reason, which I
thought Atlas was the pinnacle.
That's true. I think Atlas. This is. I mean, just looking at these streaming numbers, like this is definitely where Real
Atlas
Estate
is like
peaks.
the one. I know that much.
I think
highest Pitchfork score.
To me, this makes the reaction to this and this being Best New Track and there not being a Best New Track from the previous record feels sort of like a correction, because I think that 2011 record is something that probably read as pretty like slight in the moment and then had more legs than people thought it would, you know? Like, I think that's the whole Real Estate thing, is it's like they're kind of the best of a crop of artists that I think are otherwise forgettable, and they're very good at doing this one thing, but they kind of didn't have a second thing per se. I think they're really like the band that is like the baton pass band between the late 2000s indie and the early 2010s.
I mean, they literally are kind of like 10% an offshoot of Titus Andronicus, if that tells you anything.
Wait, I did not. I just fully that. I mean, that makes sense that I didn't know that, because Real Estate is my business and Titus Andronicus is famously not my business. Nowhere near my business.
Again, it's very bizarre to see, you know, bands that exist within the same kind of New Jersey scene space that are just on completely different ends of the map. Like, I think that first Real Estate record, the self-titled, pretty good. Days, I start getting bored. Atlas is like fully the point where I'm just like, guys, I don't care anymore. It's like every 3 years or so, like clockwork, we get a kind of okay Real Estate record and we go, oh, that's nice, and we never think about it again. Like,
it still sounds like the first one.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they have like just barely evolved beyond themselves, and like making pretty good jangle pop in the year 2024 is not a revelation anymore. But like we can still honor it. We can still go, yeah, that's pretty nice. Although I will say it's pretty fucked up of them to like steal the whole Daniel thing from the Armed, like doing a show only for people named Daniel. That's fucked up.
I was about to say I was gonna play a game and you spoiled it, but did anyone else know that they have an album out this year called Daniel? So the name of the album is just called Daniel? I did not know that.
That got
They played a show where the only way you could get in was you had to be named some form of Dan. That was the only way.
I forgot about that.
Here's the thing: I did see them live this year because they came through town. I saw, because I mainly went to go see Water From Your Eyes because they were opening for Real Estate, which is crazy double bill. You get like really nice chilled out jingle pop, and then like surprisingly abrasive experimental pop music that is like not playing for a crowd. Although funny enough, like I was talking with someone who was also at that show, and like, yeah, I really like their set. Like their set, they were great live.
They've opened for all kinds of bands that you at first go but it's like, I guess people that just like indie music do tend to like Water From Your Eyes. Like they opened for Interpol at that concert in Mexico City for like 1 million people or whatever it was. Like
they're definitely like a favorite band's favorite band, you know, like it is definitely an artist, which again I love. But this song is good. It's good, and I think I should address. I think part of the reason why like Real Estate at this era. Here's the thing: like it's so clearly their peak era, but I do think there is a bit of like an asterisk to it, because it's like, oh yeah, this is when Matt Montiel was in the band, and then he left in disgrace. Which he's now a pervert living in Europe, which is funny.
About that.
Yeah, they got again. He got canceled. He's one of the first like indie Me Too's, right? Like he's one of the first. It's like in the same year it was like him and Power Bottom were like the two really notable ones.
I do remember that. Yeah.
And of course he leaves, and I think like it's one of those things where unfortunately you do have to like, okay, when they were like really critically acclaimed, when people really liked him the most, that's when he's in the band. He leaves, things start to go downwards a little bit. Although I will say I like Daniel. I thought it was a fine, pleasant record, and they were good live, and that was it. But I've never really been into this whole thing. You know, it's just like it's not doing anything for me that's like pushing the envelope, which that's not always a requirement, mind you, but I do think that for something like for a genre like this, you either got to push the envelope, add some muscle to the music. Like I think a band that does this sound really really well now is Ducks Limited, because they put some fucking muscle behind their music that I think is lacking in Real Estate, where they were like, okay, at the end of the day, like, hey, we want to have the good jangly guitars, but we should make sure we have like a killer fucking rhythm section. So you add that to the mix, you're unstoppable. But Mr. Michael Brooks, your thoughts on Real Estate's Talking Backwards?
Yeah, wow. This is fine, I think, is about what I would say. I don't know. I mean, I think like listening to this song 10 years after its release, I don't remember this music sounding that boring back in 2014, and maybe that has more to do with how my tastes have changed and how much music I've listened to over the course of the past 10 years. I'm not sure, but it's good vibes music. I enjoyed the first two Real Estate records. I can't say that Atlas left much of an impact on me when it dropped, but it's pleasant enough. You use the word pleasant, and I think that's what this is. Nothing more, nothing less.
I think that's a solid way to put it.
I think we talked about this last week with Mutual Benefit in that song, and it's like, it's not bad per se, but in the moment it felt like, yeah, this is the kind of thing I'm into. And then over time, the other stuff that sort of sounded like this is the stuff that I have more like warm nostalgia for. Like if I listen to a Youth Lagoon song from this time, I'm like, oh, this really takes me back. This makes me feel like it did when I used to listen to it. Whereas Real Estate, I'm with Michael, where it's like, this feels really dated now. This feels really like if you're setting a movie in 2013 or so, like this kind of music's probably going to be on the soundtrack. You know, it feels of its time in ways that helped it at the time and now make it feel kind of a little more disposable.
If they did like a 2014 like Garden State reboot or something, they could be the Shins.
It totally could have been in 500 Days of Summer core, you know, like right in that zone of stuff. And I agree with Matty also, like even bands that I don't think are like capital G good or great bands, like Rolling Blackouts, Coastal Fever, I think even do some of this sort of stuff a little more dynamically, or like other bands like that do the kind of jangle poppy thing, where Real Estate, I never really cared for them after this era.
Well, I think part of it is just like, I think a lot of the bands of this era that were doing this kind of, you know, jangle pop adjacent thing, like we kind of, I feel like culturally we kind of viewed it as like, well, this is a mountain that's already been conquered. There is nowhere else to go. But I feel like, you know, in even the last decade or so since this dropped, we have seen such immense movements within, you know, like the genre space for this, that it's kind of shocking. Like always feel like the kind of band that like really has split the atom a little bit on you know, the jangle pop problem of like, how do you make the sound engaging in the year 2024? Like there are a handful of bands in the space I feel like have, you know, been able to pick up the baton and actually do something new and engaging, rather than where we were settling for a kind of, I don't know, contentment of the sound.
It's crazy how long Pitchfork like put their bets into bands like this. Like Pitchfork did not come around always until, I mean, they liked the self-titled, they liked the record in 2017.
Well, I feel like that was every critic was, like there was a kind of general majority of like, well, people really like this, but do critics like Always all that much? Like, I don't feel like they were all that universally.
It was never cracking like the top 20 of the Peasant Job if it existed at the moment.
Like they had the hop along issue, which is like they were everyone's favorite, but nobody was like stumping for them.
I think Always are a good comparison, and also kind of not like they're a good comparison. They get exactly what you mean sound wise, but like Always had songs from the beginning in a way that this band simply did not. Like even though
that's what we're getting
Always
at. Just like
record,
how
it doesn't sound like the most original thing in the world. You're still like. Yeah, there were bones here that these other bands did not have, and eventually we saw those mature into like really great records like Blue Red,
Yeah.
Molly Rank is just a better songwriter, in my opinion.
Yes, 100%.
That too.
And, it's funny that this band's called Real Estate because, of course, they formed the band and it becomes really popular during a time when the real estate market is at its lowest.
I was sure that was a Waves joke you were setting up somehow. King of the Beach, Waves, Real Estate. There was something. There was something
a landlord joke in there somewhere.
Well, here's the thing: least would be the least shocking news of all time if a real estate member is a landlord.
I think it would. I think it would be shocking just because it's like. If you're named Real Estate, you got to know that people are going to be on the lookout. You can't do that.
SEO, because if you try to type in real estate band, real estate, it's just going to do.
Wait,
it's a double jeopardy.
You're
double
right.
jeopardy.
You're totally right.
They cancel each other out, so there's no way anybody would know. Because if you type in Martin Courtney Real Estate, it's just going to go to the band. It's not going to go to any property that he owns.
Page 5 is LinkedIn.
Allegedly, Matty, don't accuse real estate of being landlords.
By the way, for the record, I am joking also because I now work at the place that puts out these records physically, so I have to be very careful.
However, we should say Matty is trying to make sure that every band on this list is canceled by the end of the year. Okay, let's just get that out here.
On a mission,
absolutely.
He's gonna make it happen.
I'm taking it down from the inside, man. But. Okay, here's the thing. Talking backwards, it's fine, it's good, but really, the song we're all waiting to talk about, the one one
of several. Let's be clear. This is
this is true, but this is where it's like, okay, talking backwards. All right, fine. Can we just get to this next one? And that song is fucking "Move That Dope" by Future featuring Pharrell, Pusha T, and Casino. God damn.
I mean, listen, getting to talk about 2014 Future is kind of like it's like talking about it's like talking about peak Yankees, it's like talking about so many different things. You are watching a guy just obliterate the craft at such degrees that we have never seen before. This is my lesser favorite of the two Future songs we're going to be talking about today, but this is still a good time. Like, that man is just, ugh.
I think this is the first Future song I ever heard, way back when I just saw this video, and it was like, I don't know how to feel. What do I do with this information? I've been obliterated, like you said. That's a good word for it.
Michael, you just did a podcast about Future that I enjoyed a lot on the Endless Scroll bonus feed because there's a Future mixtape out right now. What do you think of this song? You didn't talk about this album very much on that episode.
No, which is a shame because I am a lifelong, passionate, honest defender. I think it's a great record. It's a record that showcases a side of Future that I selfishly wish we got just a little bit more of, but I love this song. I mean, I've always loved Mike Will Made It. I think he's such a good producer, very simple, straightforward beats, but they hit hard, they knock. That sort of gurgling bass sound in this song. And I don't know, I remember when this song came out, I would have probably bet the house on Casino. I was so hot on Casino and ready to plug everything into that stock. That wouldn't have panned out very well for me. Would have made a lot of...
It's just like investing in the real estate market in 2008. It would have...
Matty, no, you should Casino. Matty, the joke was right there.
So
Investing
I was still on the real
casinos in
estate bit.
2024, bad idea, because you can just bet on sports anywhere now. There's no fucking
gamble.
point.
Like, you should. It was all right there, and you went for the wrong metaphor. But it's okay. It's okay.
Look, that's nobody's perfect. Okay, that's why you enjoy and listen to the Indians podcast. You get flawed human portraits.
Sometimes we push boundaries, and sometimes we miss. You know, to quote. Disgraced.
Is that an Eric Adams quote?
No, that's the fucking what's his name? The guy that got kicked off of SNL for being racist.
Shane Gillis?
Yeah, no, that's the Shane Gillis thing that Blank Check made fun of. Is that sometimes you push boundaries and sometimes you miss, which is not how boundaries work. But no, yeah.
Well, sometimes you start trying to push, and then like your arm like kind of goes.
I'm bringing this back to Casino. I'm bringing this back to Casino because I wanted to talk about Casino. I hate to do this. Does the name Flostradamus mean anything to anyone else on this podcast?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah. So I was, as I talked about last week with Tonight, I was steeped in that world, even though I had friends that had the Hoodie Nation warning sign, like basketball jerseys and stuff, but I was only adjacent to it. I did see them live probably twice, but Mosh Pit featuring Casino was like a very huge time and place thing. But that's the thing, is that if you listen to Mosh Pit and you listen to this song, Casino has one gear. It's a very high gear, and there's a lot of energy going on, but he does not have a second pitch in his arsenal, and we found that out pretty quickly. But he's a real... when I listen to this song, I always kind of forget that he's on it, but then I'm like, of course Casino is on this. Isn't he related to someone? Yeah, I was about to say.
I think he's Future's brother.
I think that is correct.
I was furiously Googling him earlier because I'm like, I have not heard this name.
He's a Nepo.
Since decades ago, literally. And I think he's the CEO of Free Bands still, or was. So definitely he's Future's Nepo fail brother, who has a great feature on this song.
You hear it 3 months ago, our Future, who is that Casino guy from the Move That Dope song? So people are still wondering this to this day, but I believe that's correct. He just really did not. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, he had his. It's kind of like was Trinidad James if Trinidad James didn't have like that brief shining moment in the sun. You know, he was almost Trinidad James.
Didn't get Mark Ronsoned.
But yeah, I think this is a good song. I am very pro Future in general, and I'm pro this album specifically. Like, I think we'll talk about later, but this is really the bridge between old Future and new Future. Like, he unlocks, and Monster comes right after this, and that's truly when the Future that we know comes fully online. But this is, I think, it kind of reminds me of Pusha T's "My Name Is My Name" in a similar way, which we talked about, I think, 2 weeks ago, where it's like a little bit of what we like about him now, a little bit of what we liked about him before it. It's kind of this like middle career thing that is probably never going to be people's favorite, but is kind of underrated for that reason. It's like not a bad between eras sort of thing. I think this song is good, but my only sort of knock on it is just that exactly 1 year later we get "I Serve the Bass," and this beat versus the "I Serve the Bass" beat is like the hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby meme. Like he improves on this kind of Future song very significantly, very immediately after this. So I'm a little more fond of the other song we're going to talk about today. But this one, is very good.
That's like my big issue with this one is like the beat is almost there, but it's a little too skronky for me, where I'm just like, come on, man.
We talked about Mike Will last week, and I'm not a Mike Will hater by any means, but
I don't hate that dude.
I think his sound has just aged a little more, only because he was so everywhere for so long and was willing to work with whoever, including Miley Cyrus, such that that sound doesn't feel as fresh as it probably did at the time.
Was 2014 also the first Ray Shremmerd record, or was that later?
Because he was 2015.
That's early 2015. But they had singles out in 2014.
Probably 2014.
Yeah, I associate Ray Shremmerd with my freshman year of college, which is fall of 2015. Very important era, but we're not quite to that era. This is what's it called? 23 with Miley Cyrus is the year before this. And Bangers, I want to say, is 2013, also the year before this.
Yeah.
So we're in a post bangers Mike Bull made it universe here.
Yeah. That being said, I mean, the Pusha verse is incredible. Like incredible feature from him. It's kind of funny that last week on the podcast, which by the way, last week we're talking about the bonus episode that we did with Larry Fitzmaurice and Shaq Lambert, which is up on the Patreon feed, just $5 a month, get you that episode and a bunch of other bonus materials. Just getting that plug in and out right away. That being said, it was kind of funny that we were kind of getting at Pharrell being washed. His verse on the song is fucking good. His verse is so good.
The Gandalf hat era of Pharrell. He was not one to be fucked with.
For real.
The verse is so good, it makes me want to see his Lego biopic now in theaters.
Piece by piece.
Oh my god.
We talked about that last week. We talked about Pharrell beats last week. But I think I was talking more about Pharrell as a producer, which he started to phone in more and more as he started getting calls to do stuff more and more. You know, I feel like in the mid 2010s, he just gets so overworked that you kind of get like Pharrell by the numbers a lot. Whereas, but on this song, he's not producing, he's just rapping. And this is probably the most locked in rapping he is. Like, it's up there as far as the moments where he'll occasionally step out and remind people that, yes, he can rap really, really, really well.
Oh, yeah. No, it's about as good as like any of the stuff on the We Got It for Cheaps. Oh.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Me and 50 bitches, we doing yoga naked. Like, goddamn, what a bar. What a bar. But yeah, here's the thing. We're going to table our discussion in the future because we're going to be coming back to him and this album in particular later on in the playlist. But going from this to our next song to the song after, like 180. Like we're just doing complete tonal whiplash.
Except all of them do feel like this era and completely. We talked about that last week of just
exactly
like different remembered 2014s, and all of these
doing whippets in the same car.
That's exactly that's a good way of putting it. Let's move on to Angel Olsen's White Fire.
Listeners, all right. Just need to let's just say this really quick. Pain. This song is pain. Sorry. This song is painful. This is a painful song, but like in the best way possible. I love this song very, very dearly. And if you're wondering what it's like to live in the beautiful city of St. Louis, Missouri, this song is what that city sounds like. Because of course Angel Olsen is from St. Louis, and this is what the depression of St. Louis sounds like, Everclear in its form. I love this song, I love this record, but I will let others chat about it first before we kind of go, I guess, more in on Angel Olsen during this time.
Wow, this is like one of the two Angel Olsen eras before she just gets like really bad that I just don't like. Like she is someone who I'm extremely in and then extremely out on. And so the eras for me are like All Mirrors and Halfway Home. Those are the two albums of hers that I'm just like unimpeachable. Classics, good. My Woman, pretty good. Has some perfect songs on there. Burn Your Fire. Never really cared about this record. I think this one is just like, I don't know. I was getting real sleepy.
To me, and I'll get to my Angel Olsen rankings and make you upset in a second, but
I know.
To me,
listen, I already know what happened.
No, it's worse. It's gotten worse. To me, this and Halfway Home are like so twinned in my mind. Like they feel like two different executions of the same Angel Olsen form to me, which is this is the more stripped back, a little more lo-fi, a little more sparse version of what Halfway Home does, and I always liked both of them and liked this one slightly more is kind of how I felt about these two. But I like this song. I mean, this is like definitely one of the better songs on this record, which I think is one of the better Angel Olsen records. But I'm similar where I really flip-flop on Angel Olsen record to record and era to era, and for a long time there was never quite an era that I like totally fell in love with until 2022's Big Time, which I listened to today and confirmed, yeah, it's my favorite Angel Olsen record. It's her best. I think her newest album is her best one from start to finish, and I stand by it. it's good. I like it. I won't talk about that for too long because this will become a podcast about Big Time, which it's not. But I adore that record.
Big new pod.
Big new pod.
Hey, in my opinion, if we ever did another like best of the decade like we did for the 2010s, I think in 10 years I'm still gonna be listening to Big Time. I love that record so much, but that's a me thing, and I know lots of people, including Rose, that disagree. Howie from Uncut Gems' voice, I disagree.
But let's hand off to our guest, Aly. Your thoughts on this track?
I had not gone back to this record since probably like 2016, like right after because I got really into her around the time that My Woman came out and like went backwards. And I like this record more than I remembered, and like I think this is a good song, and this was mentioned I think in the Pitchfork like write-up, but it just feels like the welcome back Leonard Cohen meme, or a version of that meme, because it just is so unimpeachably just sounds like a Leonard Cohen song, and a really good one at that. I like that weird horny poet man, even if a lot of other famous people don't think he sucks now.
Yeah,
but,
here's there's one tweet, because I know obviously the Sabrina Carpenter lyric from this year about Leonard Cohen, which is very funny, and it's just like he would have loved that that beautiful blonde women are still torturing him to this day. Leonard Cohen would have loved that.
Leonard Cohen would be so happy because fucking everybody worships Leonard Cohen now. Like it's everywhere. There's nothing we can do about it.
Yes, but back to you, Aly.
Yeah, I like even from this kind of album, but especially later on where Angel Olsen it feels like it's a little bit more distinct. I like just like her voice and her lyrics and just her style is really special, and when she hits it out of the park. And I think this is like a cool song, kind of doing like a pastiche experiment, or maybe not an experiment, it still sounds like an Angel Olsen song, but this is not my favorite era of her music. I'll go to bat for Big Time a little bit too, not to derail everything, but I think that's a record that kind of takes some of the core ideas even of this song, and just expands them into such a kind of widescreen, beautiful way. But decent song, good song.
Yeah, Michael, what do you think of this song before I once again sidetrack us to Big Time?
No, that's perfect. I will say that Angel Olsen is a pretty big blind spot for me, aside from My Woman. I think that's probably the only full album I've checked out, and I honestly don't know if I had heard this song before prepping for this episode. I thought it was nice. I think if I would have heard this 10 years ago, it would have wrecked me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, because I say using the word enjoy the song, it's like that's technically true, but it's like you don't really enjoy this song per se. It's just you just kind of let its cold dark heart just gotta waft over you. You know, its air just kind of hits you and you get chills.
I think this is also a classic example of a song that we cover on this podcast that like hits differently in the context of the record. Like Angel Olsen understood that she had to give us like a couple of 2-minute songs at the start of this album before hitting you with White Fire, which is the longest song on the record. My favorite still is probably the most popular song on this record, the opener "Unfuck the World," which is just like a all-timer song
Banger.
Title, album intro, like just really, really good way to start that record off. Yeah, I think Angel Olsen is like, she's someone that I got on board with My Woman as well. Same sort of thing. Like that record was, I was trying to think this out. I think that record was like right when I joined the podcast, because I joined the podcast kind of shortly after. I remember Frank Ocean's Blonde was like the last record I remember being like a listener and not contributing. And then years later, I circled back around and did like 2 hours of discussion on that album with this podcast later. But I've always liked her, but I was never like a My Woman truther. It's never been my favorite of hers, although when I revisited it, I did not listen to all of her discography, but I I listened to Big Time in full twice, and then I listened to parts of My Woman and Halfway Home and All Mirrors, and then I listened to this record. And I think that My Woman is better than I remember, but it's also not. It's like kind of a grab bag of different. I like some of the rockier stuff on that record, but I'm not as into the ballads. And then All Mirrors is, I think, a totally fine Angel Olsen record that gets absolutely butchered to death by the man John Congleton. Someone please arrest him for what he did on that record.
Which is funny because that was because that he produced this record, the Burn Your Fire for No Witness, which I think he does a great job on that record.
But
and then
totally
I would agree.
different.
All Mirrors, it's All Mirrors is a which Big Time. I don't want to hold my opinion. At the time, I was like, I don't know, but I think like I need to go re-listen to that one because I think I could be swayed over. But All Mirrors, big giant miss for me. That's a record where I think people were praising it a lot at the time, and I don't think that's going to hold up as well. Like, I think it's a record that people are, oh my god, it's this Angel Olsen record that sounds really big. It's inspired by Scott Walker. Oh my god, it's got synths, and it's like she kind of did some of the stuff already on My Woman, and it sounded way better and more natural on that record. Like I was not a fan of All Mirrors at the time. I just thought it was not very good. So which just balances out the takes of Rose. Of course, I see Rose
I'm
arms
guilty.
extended.
I'm guilty. Lock me up. I'm about to.
I know Rose is a big All Mirrors fan, and saying this hurts her, but I apologize.
I just gotta say, All Mirrors, it's pretty good. Like I do not think. I think before that she had not really committed a full album-length statement that really, landed that way. I like she has good songs before that, but every album of hers kind of feels like a grab bag up until that point where My Woman, even at its best, I'm like, this is doing like 3 different things and she hasn't figured out how to put them together in an album. Like, I think at its best, could you go to the track list for me real quick? I just want to see.
For All Mirrors?
Yeah, or no, My Woman.
Oh, yep. Un segundo mundo.
Yeah. Like you look at that, and the first side of that record is like all the little punchy ones, and then the back half is just all the slow ones. And in theory, that could work, but I think in execution, it just like really makes everything kind of blur together a lot worse than it should. And that's not fair to those songs because I think like I think like Sister and Pops and are both like.
What I'm realizing, Rose,
ones.
is that we don't actually have opposite Angel Olsen opinions. We have the same Angel Olsen opinions, except that I hate All Mirrors and love Big Time, and you hate Big Time and love All Mirrors, and the rest were like pretty much the same. Because I feel exactly the same way.
Like that's the thing is like at the end of the day, I think her stuff is mostly fine, but like All Mirrors for me just takes the cake because it is like such a good execution of like an album, which to me is like what I wanted out of her all along. Like she makes good songs, but I just wanted an album. And I think that one has a lot going. Like I especially like the last 3 where it just like fully commits to like the kind of pomp and circumstance of like being a big string section having prestige record.
Yeah, we haven't read any of the Pitchfork reviews, Matty. Why don't you pull that one up for this one? I was curious.
Yes, before I do that, of course, I was My Woman, for me, her best record. I have a signed copy here, my signed vinyl copy, when she came to St. Louis. I think it's a great record, but yes, let me pull up that review real quick.
Talk your shit. Talk your shit, Matty.
Exactly. It's a fucking, it's a great record. Like, I mean, for me, like it was in my top 5 of 2016. I think at the time, I remember it for me feeling like a big deal when we were kind of putting together like our album of the year list in 2016. I was like, do I put Angel Olsen over Frank Ocean? I think I'm going to put Angel Olsen over Frank Ocean. And I would stand by that take overall. I think that My Woman is an excellent record that I do think isn't forgotten because it's still obviously like it has probably her most popular song and Shut Up Kiss Me and stuff like that. But yeah, but I will say Burn Your Fire is also not very far. Like Burn Your Fire is pretty like close at times. But let's see who. Okay, I was gonna say let's guess the reviewer, but it already spoke. Mike Powell, when he's been a consistent figure, I think, of who's given out these BNTs that we're talking about. But
remembering some guys.
But obviously we're gonna remember the Larry reviews and the Ian Cohen reviews more than more than Mike Powell. From the review, a standout among the lower key songs on Angel Olsen's upcoming album, Burn Your Fire for No Witness, White Fire is paced and arranged almost exactly like the spare earlier music of another penetrating singer, Leonard Cohen. So good call on that comparison. Think The Stranger Song or Avalanche, patient ballads built around a strong, solitary voice and guitar arpeggios that churn with the quiet intensity of water left on simmer. Like Cohen, Olsen's most striking talent is her ability to make rough, earthy-sounding music that touches metaphysical realms.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good, solid take on that. But we could literally argue all day about Angel Olsen rankings and all that
I
jazz.
think it's telling that people she's an artist that has strong opinions like that, because I do think she's so clearly someone we all like, but we all kind of want different things out of her because she's capable of doing a lot of different things. And yeah, Big Time is the one for me that has not only, I think, just the best like musical start to finish, like most All Killer No Filler, but also is the one that like means the most to me personally. That's kind of what you were saying, Rose, about like liking Angel Olsen a lot, but not having a record of hers that like felt personal. Like that's how I feel about Big Time. Big Time is the record that like means something to me in a heart sort of way. And so yeah, that's the one that I connect with. But they're all good. Burn Your Fire is probably my number 2. And then Halfway Home, and then My Woman, and that tier is kind of the top tier, and then the rest.
Yeah, and I didn't even explicitly mean in a personal sense. I more just meant like I feel like a lot of artists can kind of get trapped in the thing of being like a good songs artist, where like they have a lot of good songs, but like do they have like an album that you can point to as like a big statement from them?
All I'm gonna
works?
say, Rose. All I'm gonna say before we move on from this. She didn't release another version of Big Time afterward that was like, whoops, sorry, let me re-record all of these songs, right? That did not happen.
She made both of them at the same time. That was
teasing.
like the whole pitch of that record.
I'm teasing you, Rose.
I know. I'm aware, but I will let anyone get a rise out of me. That is my whole thing.
For me, that record was like, sorry, I'm trying to fix this.
And you know what? That other version fucking sucked. That's the point when I stopped liking Angel Olsen. Like I cannot remember anything she's made since
the other
that.
one is okay, but I think it made me understand that I didn't hate the songs on All Mirrors. It made me realize it was the production that was the thing that didn't work. Yeah.
And I'm the great centrist because I think the songs suck and I think the production sucks. So the whole new mess didn't do anything for me because the fundamental issue was the songs, not the production. Although the production was not very good also. It's a little too much. Again, here's the thing. When you directly mention Scott Walker's It's Rain Today as a direct influence on the sound of a record, that's Matty bait. That's bait for me. Like that's like, this is going to be totally up my alley. So when I don't like that hurts. That hurts a whole lot. But pain and sorrow, I'm gonna internalize it. We're gonna keep it inside.
We're gonna leave all of that behind right now. We're about to just talk about
180
having a good time.
We're back to having a good time. We talked about him on the bonus episode last week, but finally talking Todd Terje and this record proper on the pod. It's Delorean Dynamite from Todd Terje, whatever. It's album time. It's this is a what else can you say? This was a fucking banger.
It's
a banger.
Finally, guys, after so many weeks, it's album time. It's album time.
It's album time. This is still his only record. Yeah, he had an earlier record, but it was like 5 songs. It's like
This is so far his only like proper like full length
marketed
release.
as such too.
Yeah, yes. And even so, that EP is like half material that ended up on this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's this is just like Todd Terje album time. Very, very good little dance record. It's kind of a wonder that he has never really fully reappeared. Like he had one single that seemed like it was like leading up to a comeback, and then he just disappeared. But like I think that's ultimately been good for him in the long run because this album has just aged fine. Like it's very good. It's like kind of what I wish Random Access Memories was at times, and just being like a very admirably disco indebted dance record that everyone can go, yeah, that's pleasant, that's good, that's fun. Like there's no higher ambitions. It's just album time, buddy.
This record rocks so much. It's just, we talked about him last week on the bonus episode, but he does one thing really well. And while I would love more album time, if he releases another record, my only condition is he has to keep the naming format a la Flo Milli. Like
it's album time again.
It's album time again is the only thing that he can call it. If he calls it anything,
it's album time, ho.
It's album time, ho. I would accept that.
If you think it will ever stop being album time, ask RR.
Ask Royal Rich.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Rich Homie.
As much as I would like more, you kind of don't need it because this is just truly, as far as an artist delivering one record that is so definitive of what their deal is and doing it so well and having it be also paced so well. I didn't jam out the whole thing today, but when I was looking at the track list, I always forget that Inspector Norse is the closer on this record, which is like a crazy fucking flex, is to take a song that's like, I think either this or Inspector Norse is like the Todd Terje song. But I think that like this record is so well paced for like the intro. Its album time is the perfect like ease you onto the roller coaster sort of dance intro, and then the first couple songs on the record are just sort of working you up into a lather before he can drop Delorean Dynamite as kind of like the first peak of the record, and then Johnny and Mary is like a slower, more ballady song, and then he builds back up to the second peak toward the end with Inspector Norse, and it's just this like really satisfying front to back experience in addition to just having no bad songs on it. Like, it's hard to ask for much more from a dance record, really.
Yeah.
I wish he had a DJ Coz DJ Coz like arc where he just kind of kept on making music a little bit and just like kept getting better and like producing like records for like other people where it was like really collaborative. But in lieu of that, I'm happy we got one front to back classic.
Yeah, we talked about this last week too, that like I'm not worried, like if he was to do that and take more of that route of like really collaborating with people and really just being like prolific, I'm sure almost all of it would be great. Like I'm not like worried that he would fall off. It's just that there is something also kind of nice about him not making an album with Royce and Murphy, for example. Like he never
DJ Coz just don't do it. Don't do it.
Well, he didn't know. He didn't know that she was going to keep posting on Facebook when he made that. I don't blame Coz at all. Yeah, like there's something about this record that makes it feel special because we didn't get another one. It really does feel like there's more nostalgia for him because of that in a certain way.
I mean, it's kind of like Aphex Twin taking the really long break, right? Like, put out a good amount of material.
Go stronger, yeah.
Exactly, and it seems like just taking a quick look at his Instagram, like he's being a dad. Like he's being a dad, doing the occasional DJ gig, just enjoying living in Europe, like, and then probably slowly cracking away on the music. I think we will get a second Todd record at some point. It probably will just not be until
whenever he finishes it, yeah.
Exactly, like, and that's the thing. Like, I would rather him toil on it for. Although, again, there is always the case. There's definitely some artists where, like, like obviously we kind of talked about this last week on the episode, and we'll kind of get more into it on next week's episode when we talk about Jamie XX. Finally, of sometimes you left it in the oven for too long. Sometimes you overcooked it a little bit. I don't think Todd is someone that is a thing where I would have to worry about. Like, I don't have to worry about him overcooking things because he took years to work on this and it's kind of amazing. So like I trust him, whereas Jamie, we were watching him bring out these dishes one by one and we're like, oh, I don't know about this, and of course the album comes out. But again, we'll get there when we get there. Good song. Michael Brooks, any thoughts on Todd Terje?
Yeah, I love this song, and this record has over the past couple of years become one of my favorite albums of the 2010s. And this song is great, certainly one of the songs that, sounds as sleazy as that album cover looks. I don't know. I kind of do hope that we get to hear another record from him. If we never do, it's all right with me. This record, I think, is kind of timeless in a way. I really have listened to this album a ton throughout the 2020s. One thing I was thinking about listening to this was how back in the day, music writers used to go to the disco to listen to new music, and now they go to their inboxes to the disco link.
Oh,
So true.
So true.
Dude, oh my god, so true.
At
God.
least it's not promo jukebox.
Oh god, yeah, no. Gee.
Promo jukebox dog.
All right, quick. Okay, this is music writer inside baseball. Give us this momentary bliss to talk about this.
Fuck promo
Okay, where
Please
are
give
we
me
ranking?
the worst email headline we've received from a promo.
Yeah, where are we ranking the advance? Like, obviously, we have our promo jukebox, which I would probably put at the bottom. Disco is probably the top, both because I used it for my old job and also like it just works.
It's really nice.
And then, sometimes like you get a fire SoundCloud link. Sometimes that just hits the spot.
SoundCloud link with no comment, no context, a dead name, and you're like, all right, I'm not clicking on this.
The only emails I will ever be happy for are the Hausu Mountain folks who keep sending me advances despite my not having written anything in months that are just like neatly organized little packages of MP3s. I'm like, thanks guys, that's actually really kind
Shout
of
out
you.
them.
Yeah.
Real quick, going back to Todd, I think that you saying this aged really well. I think that's like dead on and being like timeless, because I think about this era, it makes sense that this was so big at the time because we were all really into, like, this was really when 80s synth nostalgia sort of music was dawning. But when you compare this to, like, Kavinsky Night Call, one of those feels like 2010, 2011, like, it feels dated in that way, whereas this feels like, no, this could have come out in the 90s, it could have come out in the 2000s, it could have come out in the 2010s. Like, it really does just feel like something that always existed on some dance music record fan's shelf. Like, it feels like it was unfrozen from time, kinda.
Yeah, especially because we've been talking a lot of electronic music from this era that has not aged as well. So to have something like this just age like a fine wine is
it's not that people haven't copied it, it's that nothing hits the same way. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, let's keep it moving. Honestly, again, good times hat where it's staying firmly on. It's not coming off anytime soon for me. Next track. About damn time that we're
Matty,
talking about this man and this in the band that he's in.
Hit that football music, Matty. Hit that football music. You know you want it.
Go ahead and hit the football music, Matty.
It's football. We're talking about Animal Collective again.
Our next song is Avey Tare Slasher Flicks Little Fang.
I'm so happy, Michael, that you can be here for this special moment. Rose, Matty, I have something to tell you. I enjoyed an Animal Collective adjacent song.
Let's go!
It happened.
Let's go! Let's fucking
It
go!
happened, everyone. Mazel tov.
We did it!
We did it,
This has broken my long streak of the only time I like Animal Collective is when Panda Bear is singing and not producing. Like this, I thought this was really my big take on this was like, this is like if MGMT were actually weirdos. That's kind of
Oh man,
that's kind of the vibe.
Avey Tare Slasher Flicks is such an interesting record to me.
It's a good, I re-listened to it today. It's a good record. It's underrated, honestly.
Yeah, no,
Even
I
in
think
his
it's like
discography.
I think it's quietly one of the best things he's ever made. Like, it's got some really good deep cuts, but like the combination of people involved just on its own, like it's Avey, it's Angel Delorean, like who like wait, when was the last time you all thought about Delorean?
I mean,
been
today,
a minute.
but
Been too
that's
long.
because I was listening to Little Fang.
Yeah, it just and Jeremy Hyman, who was drummer for Ponytail, which is like Animal Collective adjacent group. But yeah, this record Slasher Flicks is such an interesting detour because like it was coming off of Centipede Hurts, you know, when everyone was kind of like, well, I think Animal Collective has gone a little too far. This Avey Tare fella better dial it back a little bit. And then this record is like maybe some of the most unrestrained his music has ever had. Like it is truly like pushing it at times. But the songs on it are just, I love this weird bog music that he's made, where he's like made bog pop. I don't know how else to describe it. It's Lil Fang, one of his best. Like, it's just every little bit of it's such a simple, melody that you get taught to cut in your head, and like all the little backing vocal touches, like the Lil Fang, Lil Fang, Lil Fang. It's a good tune. I saw him last year play a solo set, and he played it for the first time in like a few years, and everyone went fucking nuts when the song came on. Like, I did not realize how beloved this one was until hearing people just like get intense about it.
Yeah, the streaming disparity on this record is crazy. There's not like
Yeah.
the rest of the record is under 200,000 or 300,000 streams per song, and this has like almost 7 million. So clearly, this has its own like life beyond just even this project or Avey Tare in general. But it also doesn't feel like it's not indicative of what the rest of it is. Like, it feels very much,
It's not as an outlier on the record. It's probably like the catchiest.
It's the most chill one.
Yeah.
But like, even then, like, I feel like this does give a very accurate representation, right down to all the fucking monster movie samples they keep putting in this thing. Like, I really love their commitment to the slasher flicks brand, where they're just like, we gotta make it spooky, guys. We gotta make this music real spooky.
But I think it's spooky in the way that the Monster Mash is spooky.
Yeah, I know. And it does remind me a little bit of like those old novelty songs in a way. It's fun. It's cute.
Yeah. Our guest, Aly, your thoughts on Little Fang?
I'll pull one of your moves. I'll just hold up.
There we go.
Not
Talk
signed,
your shit, Aly. Talk your shit.
But
Got the record pulled up.
no, I realized earlier today that I think this was the first Animal Collective solo record I got on physical, and it holds a very special place in my heart. This is the only non-Panda Bear Animal Collective solo song to get Best New Track, other than the one Deacon song for Sleep Cycle.
And we're going to talk about that eventually.
Has only put out like tape stuff, but like nothing else from Avey, nothing else from the one Deacon record. It's just been Panda Bear getting little smooches on the forehead for being such a good little guy. And don't get me wrong, that's my emotional support, 40-year-old man. I love him. But no, I forgot how good this record is, and this is just, I've been listening to this song like more than almost any other song on this playlist, just because it feels like good fall music. It feels good to remember something that kind of nostalgic, but not in a way that's dated. It just it has like kind of like very garagey kind of janky vibe, and like the Monster Mash like samples and all that stuff kind of lend itself to that, but like in a very endearing way, not in a way that makes me want to turn it off and forget that 2014 ever happened.
Yeah, it's of its time, but in the best way possible. Like, I don't think you could come out with a song like I don't think like it's a sound that is so of its time. Like, I obviously like you couldn't make Little Fang today, just like you couldn't make the Monster Mash
today because they'd have to call it Hawk to a spit on that Fang. I'm sorry. Sorry. I'm trying to delete it.
All right, for that one, Rose, you're in the penalty box. Michael Brooks, any thoughts on Little Fang?
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick, Aly, I want to mention how nice it is that you and I can have a Prester John Hive moment right now on this
Such
podcast.
a big smile when I saw that you were also on this episode.
I know.
We're coming full circle.
I felt the same way. Full circle. Prester John Hive. We will
never
survive.
Sleeps.
Yeah, I love this
Prester John
song.
forever.
Underrated record. Swampy psychedelic pop that I think's done extremely well. Close enough to Animal Collective, but I think also distinctly its own thing. What's not to love?
Yeah,
even for like an Avey solo record, it's really unique, because I feel like he's kind of been on a kick lately where his solo albums kind of sound similar, where this just sounds like nothing else that he's made.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Although I think all of his solo records kind of share the same like aquatic feeling. It's just, how deep in the water are we? Like, we're in eucalyptus. All right, we're real deep in the swamp there, or real deep in the ocean. And then like
are we down there?
It's like,
are we down there?
And down there we're kind of like, all right, like we're like fucking Michael Sheen Apocalypse now. We're kind of poking our head out from the swamp a little bit. And then this one's like, all right, we're in like the 3 feet, 4 feet section of the pool. We're having a good time. We're splashing.
Bog.
The kitty bog.
The pool has been dyed red like blood, so it's like ooh spooky but very fun. Yeah, very aquatic. I need to listen to Sevens. For some reason I've not gotten to Sevens, which is bizarre because I like all the Avey stuff.
I think it's his worst record. I hate
I know Natalie is really on the Natalie really loves Sevens.
Natalie loves that thing, and I cannot fault her. It has like 3 songs on there that I think are really, really good. I just cannot get with the rest of it.
It's better than Pull Hair Rubai or whatever that one was. Even the forward version.
It's kind of
even the forward version, even the reversed.
Yeah, even the forward version, the fixed version.
Yeah, it's funny that Avey has made like multiple records with like whoever his romantic partner is at the time. Like this is his collaboration record with Delorean. Yeah. They were dating, and then like that record, it's just it's very funny. It's very funny that he keeps doing that to himself.
Speaking of Avey and Animal Collective and our friend Natalie, we should plug real quick that Natalie just did a very long interview with Animal Collective, breaking down the story of Sun Tongs for stereogum.com. And there's a great anecdote in that story that in which they're talking about the tour that they did before Sun Tongs, and they had someone come up to them and say to them, "You guys are too introverted. You're in your own world." I was like, "That's an interesting take on it." And then he says, "I recall getting a similar comment from Johnny Jewel." He says, "Wow."
No, I think the guy is Johnny Jewel. I think like the guy that came up to him at that show.
Yeah, it literally was Johnny Jewel. He did a fucking that man's name Albert Einstein moment.
Yeah, no, he says that was Johnny Jewel the next time. But Avey is the one who says he relays Johnny Jewel's comment. "Wow, you guys do what I do in my bedroom. I would never play that for people," which he means in a positive way, but also like whether you view that positively or derogatory is like the entire Animal Collective deal, right? Either you love that they would never play that for people, or you're like, yeah, never play that for people.
No,
if someone could please if someone could please find the green text Animal Collective video that's been lost to time.
I've tried. I can't find years.
I might even just have to remake it because I have it memorized. But anyways, let's move on because we will be talking about more Animal Collective related projects later on in the series. This season in particular.
I never escaped, but this time it was fun. We had a fun time for once.
We had a fun time. And okay. Here's the thing. This is a week that I would say there are 3 very obvious candidates for most 2014 song of the week. And I think the one for me, the one that is most, we'll get there. This one is really, really close. This one is it's in the running for most 2014 this week. I will make my final decision at the end of the episode. Of course, I am talking about How to Dress Well with Repeat Pleasure. Truly the at the time when this record came out, at the time when the song came out, this was Pitchfork fully crowning this guy as like, hey, this is gonna be a big thing. All right, like this alt R&B wave that's going on right now. This guy is gonna be one of the forefathers, one of the guys running ahead and leading the charge. And well, folks, did you know that How to Dress Well released an album this year? Did you know that happened?
I did. Matty.
It's good.
I know. I'm just kidding. I'm
really
joshing.
Mad at you,
I'm joshing. I'm just joshing. I'm just joshing.
Talk your shit, Matty. Talk your shit.
Matty, you were gonna have. Okay, no, I need to break this down. Matty was gonna invite Tom on the podcast, and Tom couldn't do it. And so now Matty's lashing out. He's hurt.
No, I'm not. I would have said
Matty's just mad because he did not create part 1 of 3 of the What Is This Heart trilogy, which we all love and remember.
So I have a lot to say about How to Dress Well and my relationship to him and all of that, but while I was listening to this song today, all of that faded away, and the only thing I could, and I will get to all of that, but the only thing I could think about when I was listening to this today was if I was a YouTuber and I was doing like reaction videos, the like thumbnail I would do for this video is "Sensitive White Boy Bust It Down Prince Style?" question mark, and like the shocked face.
I think I was gonna like mime the face that he's making on the album cover and just like kind of like mug a little bit, but like have like yearning eyes.
I think you can draw a direct line from this to McG and stuff is happening
that's
now.
A good
you know, Like, I
Not
think
wrong.
This is 10 years ago.
Even though he never happened, he's similar to some, like we talked about Corbin, formerly known as Spooky Black, and I think they're similar guys in that neither of them really ever had their moment of like being taken seriously and embraced, but then now 10 years later it's like, wow, there is a lot of stuff that kind of sounds like that guy. And I think that he's someone that has been a concern for the people that are into him. Like me, have always been very into him, but this has never been my favorite era. I like this song, but I think that this era, particularly this record and the one that came before it, Total Loss, and then Care after it, which I think is his actual worst record, but like this little trio of records was really when Pitchfork was trying to put weight behind him, and I think it's the weakest run of his career. Like, I think the 2010 record
score too, which is crazy.
The 2010 record has held up a lot better, and also since Care, his 2018 record and his 2024 record from this year are so good. I don't know, Matty, have you listened to the record from this year at all?
I did. I thought it was solid. I don't love it. Like I found a hard time to gleam on it, but I think I'm just generally someone that like I again, even with like the newer stuff that's much more in the experimental electronic lane, and then this is the R&B stuff, even then I'm just like left like I don't know. Just although I liked here's the thing. So I should say I was joshing, I was joking. I actually really like the song. I think the song is really, really good. I quite enjoy it. And that made me go, oh wow, like okay, this got an 8.8, like okay, it's gotta hold, like it's gotta be like good, right? And then I listened to the entire record and I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely like the best song by far on the record. Although there's some stuff in the back half of the record that's pretty solid. But yeah, no, this I was a little disappointed that the entire record did not quite live up to how good this song is. But again, it's because we were kind of getting at in previous episodes, like the different, like the definitions of what makes something the most like of its year. And like in this one, it's kind of the music, because again, this is still during a time where the phrase PB R&B is still kind of a thing. It's being phased out in favor of alt R&B, and before it just kind of just gets amalgamated into just like core.
But like the question I want to ask is like, how thoroughly was this entire wave kind of just demolished by the existence of Blonde? Like all the stuff
Blonde
that
is
came before that moment. Just
it's a little bit that. I think the other thing that kind of ends up eating Tom's lunch specifically is like when I heard this song right after hearing a Blood Orange song 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh, that's a little bit who ended up taking the hype that was sort of accumulating around this project. You know, like I could see a universe where Tom is more tapped as like a behind the scenes songwriter in the way that Blood Orange is. But I also just think that like he just improved a lot as a producer in his own right. I got into, I think I probably said this when we first covered How to Dress Well on this series, but as we talked about last week with Jeremiah, I'm a huge slow-mo girl. I love We Did It. And How to Dress Well was just a guy that showed up on every single Guy That I Liked album. Jock Green, he's going to show up there. R.L. Grime, he's going to show up there. Shlomo, he's going to show up there. He was just buddies with all of these people, and I think that I just kept hearing him, and eventually I was just like, I really like this guy. I like his vocals, and I was never like head over heels for the records themselves, besides Love Remains, until The Anteroom came out and was like a really, really big record that year and kind of got me back into his music. But he was always a guy I had a lot of fondness for, and so as he sort of found a lane for himself in the last 5 years, it's been a real heartwarming sort of arc for me personally, because it's just like, yeah, you really did have potential, and then he finally capitalized on it and made 2 records that really feel of a piece. One of my favorite metaphors to use in music criticism is the day man, night man, Always Sunny, and the album from this year is the day man to the Anteroom's night man. They are very much just like one of them is cold and sad, and one of them is outward,
friendship and karate.
And exactly, yes, that's exactly the dichotomy. That's
I mean, so this is the Anti-Room, so I assume the album this year is called just The Room, you know, like, so therefore it would. Is that not what it's called? Is it not called The Room?
It is not called The Room.
It's the Ants
God damn it! Well, you can't do anything right. No wonder.
Yeah.
No wonder fucking Blood Orange outsold this guy. Fuck you.
Yeah. Which this is the last time we're talking about How to Dress Well. Care. That's the thing, is that it is interesting because there's some artists, right, where like a bad album doesn't kill their career. Like, you know, it's interesting that a bad album, like, he's still going, still making music, but in terms of like critical acclaim, consistent popularity, like Care was just a misstep of being like, I'm going to embrace the more pop side of my sound. I'm going to get Jack Antonoff on my record, when he was still like at that point kind of more of an up and coming like producer writer before he really gets like amalgamated into the Taylor Swift machine. And yeah,
this
just
is
big
melodrama, I think. Yeah.
Big old whiff. Also one of the worst album covers of horrible album cover. We have Gautier at Home.
Looks like that one Placebo record where like the dude's missing the one puzzle piece.
Yeah, it's a bad album cover. It's I've not listened to the record just because, again, the album cover is just so poor. I think I listened to some of it at the time.
I think for me, my feeling on his arc has always been that he was a guy that got a lot of hype and then it didn't. Not that he didn't capitalize on it, but like he was on Domino Records for that whole run, and it really feels like them trying to fit him into a box that was not the box that made sense for him. And it's not until these last two records, which I forget if the one before this one was on Sargent House. I know the new one is on Sargent House.
No, this one was still on Domino.
The last one was his last one on Domino, and that, I'm sure, was him, like, the last one was Domino finally letting him make the record that I'm sure he's kind of always wanted to make, which I love to call that record Bjork's Vespertine for Boys. Is what the interim is. He described it as like a club record that never rises above a 3 out of 10 in intensity, and that's what it is. It's great. It's like a little micro beats sad iceberg of an album, and I love it.
It feels more of a piece with Love Remains in a lot of ways.
Totally,
like if we just never had Total Loss or the Sad Boy Face one, or especially not Care, like it would have almost just felt like kind of a solid progression, because they both explore really similar kind of like more like textural things than just like, I'm making a pop song. That's even if it's a banger.
He was always meant to be an experimental artist with good pop bones underneath, as opposed to a pop star that does a little bit of kind of cool stuff around the edges.
A little woozy. Ooh.
Yeah, like if you listen to the remixes from What Is This Heart, they're actually pretty great. There's an A.G. Cook remix of this track. There's The Range remix of Words I Don't Remember, which is the other song I really like from this record. And there's like a Double Dutch remix of another song. And like all of those,
Double Dutch remix.
all of those are like examples of he's always had good taste, right? Like all of his I mean, I'm biased because I was introduced to him by him collaborating with people I like. So I think he has good taste because his taste is my taste. But like, he's always had a good ear for producers to work with, and that's indicated by those remixes being good. And I think eventually he gets to the point as his own artist where he's able to like synthesize some of those collaborations into the mainline thing and make records that really feel like the full vision of what he was going for, you know? But yeah. How to Dress Well. If you came out today, they'd have to call him How to Have Rizz.
I still don't know how to dress well, Tom.
Talk to a dress well.
No, sorry, Matty. Sorry.
That was only like 1 second of silence, but it felt like at least a minute. But let's
excuse me before we move on to the next song. I have hang on a second.
Oh, God damn it, Rose.
I have a doctor's note here that says I can be excused from this next song. Shit, let me. There we go.
Hey now.
Hang on, what does that say?
What are you doing, Rose?
Rose, the blur.
Rose doesn't have to be here.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Doctor, my doctor, Mr. Doctor MD.
It's like Canadian sentiment.
Okay, good. That's all. Get out.
I don't have to be here.
This is the people that made our theme song. This is the people that made our main episode theme song. Our next, jeez, I've gone to the red so many times this episode. Our next song is Aught's Habit. God, I love this song. I love this band. I will forever die on the hill. that Ought are the best post-punk band of the 2010s. Many bands popped up in that little 2010s post-punk revival that I think have not held up as well to time, and I think Ought has held up incredibly well, and I'm glad that they're still kicking to some extent as Cola. But yeah, I mean, the three Ought records, I mean, just hits different, just hits different, and this song is incredible.
The fact that we got this one in the first Preoccupations record in the same year was like
crazy,
huge for me in particular. Even if Ought has now dearly departed us and made a soda pop themed band instead.
Yes. And this isn't to say that the Cola stuff is really good. I really do like the two Cola records that have come out. But yeah, no, like there's a certain like energy, even just on this first record, that is just like this youthful energy that is just, it's hard to recreate, because they're coming at it now with Cola with a bit more of like an older ear and a bit more like experience and wisefulness. And like when you learn that this band came together during like student protests when they were all students in Montreal, like that, you understand the spirit of like this record in particular, and kind of how things would kind of as time goes on with the other two. But yeah, this song in particular, I love the guitars. I love I think honestly that's the thing with Cola that I think is really missing, that I like them, but it's like, man, bring in a keyboardist. That was the thing that made Ought really stand out, is that they had a keyboardist and added some really nice textural work to them that I think made them stand out against the pack. And of course, Tim Darcy is just a hell of a vocalist. Like many a post-punk vocalist was, always flogged by the "you sound like Marky Smith" allegations, and that may be true, but
he sounds Scottish on this song almost. You have to forget they're Canadian. To me, I hear more. I've always heard a little more David Byrne than Marky Smith as far as like vocal influences go, and I think there are a lot of people, obviously, that have been continuing to rip off Talking Heads for many years. But this has always hit different. I love Ought. I like this record. But I don't think I've listened to it in a really long time. And so I was going through this playlist, and this was my biggest surprise, just in like, I thought I liked this song, but it hit completely different this time around. I think this might be my favorite song of the week, not to spoil it. This song is really, 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 really good. Ought are great. I think they're very underrated in their influence. Lily posted something today in the Discord that I shared, which is that if you take, I forget which song it is from Sun Coming Down, but
I believe it's the title track on that record.
Lily took an Ought song and sped it up to 2x speed, and it sounds like Black Midi, like almost exactly. Like Matty can play it. It just sounds like Schlangenheim.
I was like, this just sounds like near Detroit, Michigan.
That's like a great way of demonstrating how, like, I think Ought are a band that have influenced bands that sound like them and bands that don't even sound directly like them. Like, I think they're more influential on indie music as a whole than they are just like a post-punk concern. And I don't even think post-punk is the right way to describe like this song, especially. Like, the other thing I kept thinking of listening to this is Modest Mouse, weirdly. Like, does that make sense? Like, with the drumming and some of the kinda,
yeah.
Like, the structure of it is much more Ought in the kind of repetition and that post-punk like build structure to it, but like, I think instrumentally it has much more of a kind of ramble, a kind of jangle. It's not like this post-punk, like everything is like super on the beat, like mathematic, like very technical music, It is really
filter, yeah.
And when I was reading through their bio, they don't, the bio doesn't cite post-punk as like the things that were the like shared reference points. They're basically saying that it's like mid-90s emo plus the Feelies and Talking Heads. And when you hear it through that lens, you're like, oh yeah, no, I can hear that. Like, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I think that they were lumped into post-punk because they sounded like a lot of bands in that lane, and there are a lot of post-punk bands like Squid and Black Midi and others, Black Country New Road, all kinds of bands that really have pulled generously from what they did as Ought. But this is just like, such good songwriting. Like, the lyrics on this song and the way it is pretty simple, but also there are so many good lines. Like, there's that one line where he's like, do you have something you're looking to express that with me? Like, it's just like real cathartic shit, you know?
Yeah. Like, that's the thing, is that there's such a, which I think that I think the Moss comparisons are like dead on,
and
because
the emo of it, you know, like this
exactly.
post-punk is usually like cool, removed, dark, and this is like heart on sleeve, like ripping your chest open music.
Canadian mineral, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It is funny because they are, like, of course they're a band that they formed in Montreal. None of them are like originally Canadians. Like, they all came to Montreal for school and then just ended up like staying in Canada afterwards. Although I think now they're all kind of spread out, because I want to say Tim Darcy lives in like LA now, like last I heard. Although it wouldn't surprise me, maybe if he's still in Montreal. But because it's like their bassist is Australian. I think Tim is from like Arizona, and then I think the other two members are like from like the like northeast of the US. But yeah, no, I this song is, again, this song and this band means a hell of a lot to me. I don't think we get to I don't think we get to like Sun Coming Down or any of the stuff off the 2018 record, which I think are all fantastic and great. And I'm glad that like this is like a best new music of the era that does feel like a little surprising, right? Like, this is a time where Pitchfork was not quite going, like, they were obviously like a fan of this kind of era of post-punk, and they were kind of championing some of these bands early on, but of course, like, it was like you had like a year or two before they were like, no, we're moving on to like other stuff.
I think right about now you would have guessed that Savages were going to be a band that had a way longer cultural tale than this band, and the complete opposite has happened, right? Like,
yeah, because like, you know, like at this point, like Ott lives on in Cola. Like, Cola is doing pretty well. Like, they're consistently touring, they're putting out records that are acclaimed, and like they're doing the damn thing. And then obviously like Savages is like Jenny Beth, she's doing TV programs in France and hasn't put out any music in like 4 years.
She
did a record with the Primal Scream guy that I did not know about.
That's right. Yeah.
She's good in Anatomy of a Fall, you know, like.
Wait, she's in that movie?
You didn't know that, Matty?
That's right, Jackie.
I haven't seen Anatomy of a Fall, so I had no idea.
Yeah, no, like
that's crazy.
she's doing stuff. She's
yeah, that's
crazy,
man. Michael Brooks. Michael Brooks, I've not heard from you. What are your thoughts on this song and I guess Ott in general?
No, yeah, Ott are a cool band. I know that they have their shooters out there. Me, myself, I'm not one, but I respect it. I see the vision. I'm right there with you. I feel like this particular style of guitar music historically has not always been my thing, but even back in 2014, something about this band stood out to me. I don't know if it's that they were different, they had an edge to them, if maybe the songs are just that good and that well executed, or maybe a little bit of column A and column B. But yeah, this rips.
There we go.
That makes sense to me, just because, like, I don't think of you as like a post-punk guy, but I think when they get to like their last record, Room Inside the World, you can kind of hear that like their influences aren't really post-punk. Like, they want to make these kind of big, soaring, ballady songs that are very different than where they sort of came from. So
I feel like the Pitchfork review like kept like labeled them pretty hard in as art punk, whatever that kind of nitty-gritty meaningless difference, and not meaningless, but very small difference when you come up to like the rate your music subgenres. But it felt like that was like even Pitchfork's own way of pushing against itself.
Yeah, they say
they're a little different than like Preoccupations or even like the last two Women records and like kind of other similar-ish bands.
They say Television and Elvis Costello as sort of comparisons, and I can kind of squint and hear what they're going for there. Yeah, like this is definitely more punky. They kind of get progressively less like punk as it goes along, but it also has that kind of emo quality to it. And yeah, it reminded me of a lot of bands both before it and after it, and they really do feel like such a crucial band as like a link between the actual like 90s indie rock bands that this is like pulling, an 80s indie rock that this is like pulling from, and then like the crop of 2010s younger artists that are all gonna keep mining this sort of zone.
Yeah. Also, if you like the song, I mean, I highly recommend their track Desire. Desire feels like a real sequel to this song.
That's
really
I mean, that
track.
was my favorite record on my favorite track on Room Inside the World. Yeah, These Three Things and Desire is like a real sick 1-2 punch.
Yeah, because I think like you go from like this first record. I honestly I think really the post-punk thing, like the reason why maybe I use that descriptor is that like 2015, like that feels like that feels much more in line with like your preoccupations and your proto martyrs and stuff like that. And then obviously like this record, Room Inside the World, firmly like okay, we're an art rock band, guys. Like we're not post-punk, like we are an art rock band at the end of the day. And it kind of sucks that like they didn't really continue this direction with the Cola stuff. Like the Cola stuff feels very much back in line with, you know, the post-punk of the current era, which is, again, I still think the Cola stuff sounds fantastic, but you know, I feel like with this record and the Tim Darcy solo album that came out in 2016, like I want to hear more stuff like that. I want to hear them kind of dip back into this lane. I think like timing is pretty good for it because I think that Jordy Griep record that just came out like kind of dips its toes into that a little bit when it gets into the more like balladry kind of stuff. I think there's potential, but let's move on. Rose is out of the Rose. Your doctor's note is no longer valid. You're back in business as our next song comes from Future featuring Andre 3000.
Finally talking about good music again. Oh.
I'm gonna ignore that. We're talking about Ben's Friendz.
There it is.
Oh, there we go.
That's
a very wobbly vinyl, Michael. That's a very You held that. It was very wobbly to me on camera.
This is the only 2014 album with a song with Benz and a friend in the title that I will acknowledge.
What's the other one?
I don't want to say it's too cursed.
Okay, well I'm gonna look this up on my own time. Michael Brooks, actually, I'm gonna let you take the reins on this one. Michael Brooks, go on ahead. Your thoughts on Ben's friend?
I see what joke Rose is. Rose is making a Sun Kill Moon joke. Ben's friend.
Oh god damn it!
Damn.
Oh god.
Wow.
Yeah. Which by the way we did that did get Best New Track during this year.
Yeah, that's why I specifically thought that
song. But Michael Brooks, back to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, of the two honest tracks we're talking about today, this is the one for me. When I was talking about wanting to hear, or selfishly wishing there was more of this sound and style Future tapped into on Honest, it's like exactly what this is, which I feel like is a real passing of the baton between like Atlanta weirdos of the past and at this time the present, the Futures, the Young Thugs, whoever. Because I feel like a key part of Future's story is that his cousin Rico was a founding member of the Dungeon Family and Organized Noise. And so, you know, because of that, I feel like a lot of this early Future music is rooted in that same R&B weirdness that they were doing, you know, 10, 15 years before Future finally came around. Killer song. Andre 3000 is always fantastic. Yeah.
He just wants to ride his bike, man.
Yeah, 100% on good. Everything you're saying. Like, his sound is so much within the continuum of Southern rap in a way that I think really benefits him and, you know, allows all the kind of stylistic progeny he's had since then, in terms of, like, you look at every guy who has come since Future trying to do things like Future did, and it's just like, it's so interesting. This song, very much my thing compared to the earlier tune off this record. And I mean, it's so easy to just put a like absolute ripper Andre 3000 verse in front of me and I will have a good time. I'm just like, yeah, I want to listen to that dude like just run over the bar line 20,000 times with some of the floweriest language I've ever heard. Like, give me more of that. And Future, like, he's also game. Like they're both just having a really good time. It's a good tune. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, this sounds like we talked about this last week too, and I love you bringing up the Dungeon Family thing because the joke I made last week is that Future is much closer in age to Andre 3000 than he is to Juice WRLD, and we often forget this because he's a very 2010s artist. But like,
yes,
this is the most like Outkast-y song he makes, even without Andre on it. Like the beat just does sound kind of like something that could be on an Outkast record, especially like Sankonia era sort of. And I think it works really well, especially because you can tell that Future is really excited to bring it with Andre. And especially his first like verse when he first comes in on this is one of my favorite Future moments, when he just, these clothes don't mean shit. Like he just comes in so hard vocally, and it's really like you can tell that he's about to drop Monster, because this is really where, even though he hasn't quite cracked the like musical formula, he's waking up rapping wise. Like he's really unlocking the like, oh, I'm about to start rapping Future. And I think it's just like this thing that feels like it should be like a weird misbegotten between eras thing, but it just totally works. Like it feels exactly like you said, like a baton pass between two different eras of Atlanta that still feels like it has a foot in both worlds successfully.
Yeah, very, very good song. I think I prefer Move That Dope over it, but I think that just speaks to like my instincts as a rap forum teen more than anything. But still, like, good song, good Andre. This is during a time where like an Andre 3000 verse was like always an event when he would show up on a song. Like, this isn't to say that like it isn't now, but you know, like when Andre showed up at this time, it was like, okay, this is a big cosign. Like this is a fucking moment. We gotta like sit down, pay attention. Whereas now it's like, oh yeah, I guess he's on Killer Mike's album. Okay. And we move on.
He's so loudly stated his distaste for rapping at this point. It's like he doesn't really seem to have that much investment in the first place, you know? Like it's not going to be a big event because he's not going to do some like insane rethinking the wheel shit like he does on basically every one of his little drop-ins throughout the early 2010s. Like I think there is a period here, like, you know, I'm trying to think of the other examples of this, of like, you know, songs that have Andre 3000 come in and do like 32 bars where he
Blonde is the most famous one.
Blonde is the one. I was also thinking of the Gorillaz Do Ya Thing. Like everyone loves citing that one as like a big.
What was the Kanye song he's on Pablo?
He's just singing on 30 hours.
Yeah, he's just singing on 30.
He's just singing over an Russell sample.
There is another, like, there's many examples of this.
He was on Channel Orange before he was on Blonde. He was on Pink Matter. And throughout the 2010s, there was just, that constant thing where, like, you would constantly be like, there's an Andre 3000 feature, maybe he's gonna put up, but now we all understand that no, he wants to make flute records. But I also, just bringing it back to Future and the connection, the thing I do really love about Andre, in addition to him just like doing his own thing, is that he isn't a back in my day, like the reason why he doesn't want to rap is not because he doesn't like new rap music. It's because he likes new rap music and he's like, I don't need to be pulling a hamstring running around with all you young cats. Like he really, and I think the ultimate example of that is Matty. Are you familiar with the clip where Andre 3000 is talking about Future and he's like, me and my son, we Future fanatics, man. Have you seen that clip?
I've not seen this clip.
Wait, pull up Andre 3000 Future fanatics, because it's actually, I think it's maybe, besides like some of Megan Garvey's writing, some of the best like distillation of what makes Future. I'm not gonna say his quote, but just look up here it is, Andre 3000. That's probably the exact clip.
Let's see if TikTok wants to load.
Me and my son, like, we Future fanatics, man, and we sit and we listen to it, and I said, man, Future makes the most negative inspirational music ever. See, that's talking about could kill a man like in a week, but at the same time, if you saying I'm flying first class flights on these pussy niggas, it's like that's a celebration, you know. We made our own money, now everybody discusses, the trap genre and, that whole genre of rap, and they try to discredit it or make it bigger than what it is. And I listen to a lot of the artists, and one thing I can say is Future has a certain pain behind what he's doing. And you can call it soul, you can call it whatever, but to me, it comes off as pain. That's where it comes straight off as pain. And now I'm gonna let y'all watch me balance the pain. And we all on edge watching it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very accurate.
That's beautiful. That's fucking incredible.
Yeah, like he didn't just be like, oh yeah, you were. He got it on a fundamental level, and that's what's really cool,
Yeah, just what a perfect simple short distillation of okay, this is the grand appeal of Future. If you even if you do not like Future, you have to be like, okay, I understand how you get there. So. Yeah, good song, good track. Future will return on Best New Pod. He will be back. As I believe we are talking. Are we talking? Is it?
I think he's got stuff all the way through to 2019.
Yeah, I was just paying attention to this for the Should Have Beens episode for reasons that will be obvious when we get there. But
yes,
both 56 Nights got a couple of Best New Tracks, and I believe got Best New Music. And I think Dirty Sprite 2 got Best New Music.
Dirty Sprite 2 is, I think, the only album.
Yeah, no Best New Track, but I think it got Best New Music.
Yes,
100%.
Before we abandon the André in 2014, if we remember, Capital Cities.
Oh,
I guess he had a feature on that album that I just did not remember.
What?
I didn't realize this either.
He's
one
of two features, and the other one has no other features, or one other feature, I think. And then it's just André 3000 on a song about Farrah Fawcett. And
Farrah Fawcett featuring André 3000, and then someone named Sosa who has 0 monthly listeners.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm guessing it was someone that was an artist and then they deleted their page because now somebody else is taking over, and the bio reads, "Hello, my name is Savo Popovic. I am from Serbia. I am 18 years old." Okay,
that's great. Denmark.
But yeah, good song, good track. Future will return, and I feel like there'll be some André related song that we'll be talking about on this podcast again. So we'll be back to André at some point too.
If not, I'll throw a song from that fucking 2019 NERD self-titled record.
Oh God.
Oh well, now that's remembering some guys and albums.
Listen, I will stand up for that album. I think it's pretty good.
Wait, are you talking about the 2017 record? No one ever really dies?
The self-titled one with Lemon on it.
Yeah, it's no one ever really dies.
The Kendrick song's nuts on that one too.
Yeah,
there's so many good ones. I really think that's good.
I do like you have to love Lemon, if only for the shout out to them people Wretch sample on it, of course.
But yeah, let's keep it moving. Our next song coming in from Baths and aka Will Wiesenfeld. It's Ocean Death.
How does he do it? Yeah.
That's truly. The thing. Rose, this is going to make you very happy. I think my favorite this week is probably Habit Ought for just nostalgia reasons, of course. This is a pretty close second. This is a really close second.
It's just the Bath sound for years has kind of fermented in different ways that I think are all equally interesting. He has three very distinct eras behind him, and then also the kind of B-sides to push that up and the geotic stuff. But each Bath's album feels very of its own thing. And this is a B-side. This is from an EP that's, separate from Oblivion, but Oblivion is so fucking bleak.
I gaslit myself into thinking this was on that album.
Yeah, it should be. It's unbelievable that he left it off because it's one of his best songs. It takes the advantage that I think most, the thing that I love most about Bath songs is Will Wiesenfeld is an obsessive about texture. He is constantly thinking about the way each song has a million different sounds that feel different ways in the mix. he made a whole fucking Twitter thread for his third album that was just like a list of like Easter eggs and different like sounds that he just snuck in there, that he was like, I think this would sound good on it, you know, like on the song that's about sex, he like mixed in fucking spring mattress noises into it in a way where you cannot like tell. And like there's a horse sound. Just every single Bath song has an absolute ocean of textures to play with, and this one has some of my favorites. It's just like so tactile and punchy in a way that's like it's good.
Really, I think this was my introduction to Bath. I want to say
Same.
like I
Same.
got into Cerulean and Obsidian after this, like, but I think this song and this EP was my introduction, and it was very much my shit at the time, but has aged super duper well. Like, this comes several years before. Actually, no, wait, is it? Actually, probably not true. This reminds me of John Hopkins' "Open Eye Signal" is the song it reminds me of, which I think is like a year or two
Isn't that like
earlier.
2015?
13.
Oh, it's before. Damn.
Yeah, 2013. Yeah.
But similar kind of thing, but this is taking that kind of a pulsating techno thing and then turning it into this sort of pop thing. And it feels very appropriate that this and How to Dress Well are on the same record. They're both guys that I think of very similarly. Shout out to Will. Will is someone that is now in my top tier of, like, if I'm going to a show in LA that is cool, there's a very good chance I'm going to see Will there. Like,
Yes.
Will was at the Malibu show that I went to with JL the other week. Will was there when I saw Just Mustard, and both those times I was like, of course you're here. Like,
he's been in a couple pendant shows.
As
I saw it.
as Rose says, guy loves texture. Guy likes Just Mustard. He likes Malibu. He likes vibes and texture.
He likes
but
pendant.
he also knows how to write a song, because there are a lot of guys that like texture and don't know how to write a song.
Yes.
And he controls both of those things and is able to make things that like have enough hooks in them to really last a long time, but also have enough like ear candy and detail that when you're inside of them, there's also so much to like pay attention to and come back to. And I've always liked Baths a whole lot. When I went to his page for this episode, I noticed that recently his page has been taken over. The top streams are all of this anime Netflix show that he's done the soundtrack from, called Bee and Puppy Cat.
Oh, Bee and Puppy Cat. That's like that's like started off as a fucking YouTube series.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. That's like
that
a
makes sense.
Funimation joint.
I know absolutely nothing about it besides the artwork and the name, but knowing what I do know about Baths, I see this and I'm like, this is you achieving a lifelong dream, and I'm very excited for you. It makes so much sense.
The only way it could be more his dream is if there were a hot dad as the protagonist. Like,
didn't he do the soundtrack for the Dream Daddy game too?
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
Yes.
He did the theme song for that game, and the Pitchfork reviewed it.
Oh
God.
Lest we all forget. But
Michael, you like Baths, right?
I love Baths. I will join the shout
In
out
the
to
tub.
Will. I'll join the chorus. Oh, I love the tub. I love to scrub a dub dub. I love my rubber ducky. This is fun. I like that you guys do bits on here. That's fun.
It's a little different.
Endless
than
Scroll,
Endless Scroll.
famous bit-free podcast.
Bit free, no fun zone. No, I love the music of Baths, and coming from Cerulean, which is an all timer for me, to like this darker, moodier music, pulsing in a different way, but still otherworldly and still beautiful. Good shit.
Yeah.
Good shit.
yeah, I guess last word on the matter. Fucking Baths, so good. Every album good. You should check them all out. Romoplasm.
Underrated.
Unbelievable fucking record. Like, I truly still cannot believe that it's from 2017, A, and B, that has just like gone under the radar as much as it has, because it is like one of the most solid works of art I've heard about like queer companionship and identity. Like, it's an album that fundamentally gets down to like, we just don't want each other to die. Like, it's really important. Like,
Mm-hmm.
fucking just good shit. But it's been 7 years since the last Bass album, and I need more, man. I need more. Will,
I'm
where's
gonna
the
shout
album?
real quickly. He was on a John Tejada track. Shout out to other LA guys who were just around. That's a really, really great collab song called Sky in Your Eyes that came out this summer. I think is a little slept on. A very good collaboration there that has a similar sort of feel to this song because John Tejada makes a similar kind of tech house non-derogatory.
It seems like Will's been focused on like Geotic and then obviously doing the soundtrack for the Netflix anime show.
But he put out some singles, like there were two, actually a couple of one-off singles last year. Slut Him, Projecting a Life, Do I Make the World Worse, Boys Who Run, but those never turned into a project. Maybe it got shelved or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it happens. Will's ever prolific, nevertheless, and I highly recommend checking out the remix that he did for Pendant. He had a great remix of the track "Static Dream" on the Caustic Pop Remixes EP. Which, again, great. Again, when I saw Will at the Pendant release show like 2 years ago, I was like, I really hope they're collabing on something, and I'm really glad that remix came out.
Also, a similar guy that like has existed in my life. I was just looking at his appears on, and I forgot that he's on the Ryan Hemsworth album I really like. He's on the one Deej full length record that I love, and then also he's on the Ground is Lava record, which is the most guy remember of all of the We Did It people.
Oh God! But okay, this next song, again, this is jarring. This listening to this playlist this week is full of so many 180s and just jarring moments.
But this is a true jump scare. This is a real.
So I'm gonna turn it up, listeners. Let's get jump scared real quick to this next song because I'm not gonna say it. You're gonna know it as soon as you hear it.
It's Iggy Iggs.
It's Iggy Iggs.
Finally, just the voice I've been waiting to hear after all these years.
This makes me fucking hate the saxophone. I fucking hate this song.
Yeah, no, I used to play the saxophone. I used to work the sax. I learned to work the saxophone, as one Donald Fagen might say, and it's never sounded worse than on the song. That is like one of the most hideous instrumental hooks of any tune I've ever heard. It's like it's a problem.
It's better help thrift shop. It's terrible.
Yeah, it would play in like it's like that fucking Grubhub ad. It would play in that fucking Grubhub ad if they could afford that, but they can't because Iggy is too expensive for them.
Very bad songs that this reminds me of are Thrift Shop, but then also what's the fucking Wiggle Jason Derulo.
Yeah, Wiggle Jason Derulo. I know because we did a medley of all three of those songs in high school.
It reminds a little bit of Justin Timberlake Filthy.
Does anyone? So all of this is circling around. There's this guy who is a big figure in the EDM world, Grizz, whose whole thing was that he played the saxophone over like this kind of production, and I think we should like try that guy in The Hague.
We should kill that guy.
I think this era of
just drop him out of a helicopter over the Atlantic.
This era of like huge pop music trying to mash up like the EDM sound with also this like fake funk thing. I don't even know what to call the sort of horn thing going on here, but whatever you want to call it, it's not good.
I think is this before or after Uptown Funk?
Before.
I think before.
That's crazy.
I need to mention, I was working in the studio with Bruno the other day.
Shut up. Happy 39th birthday, by the way. It's Bruno Mars's 39th birthday today.
Saturday Night Lord gets the job.
That's younger. That's younger than I would have thought. Bruno Mars.
He broke out when he was really young.
Happy birthday, Bruno.
Happy birthday, Bruno. All right, I'm going to say something that's going to get everybody really mad at me. I kind of like the song. I think this is good.
We have Angry at Home. We have break free at home.
I think this is good. This is
Saturday
fun.
night, Lauren gets the job. Don't believe him, just watch.
I was about to have a whole conversation about like what was Pitchfork seeing here, but I guess we have to ask Matty those questions instead because
Seriously, I can't tell you. I can't tell you what I see. It's okay. I'm hearing the big Sean whispering, and I'm already regretting saying that I kind of like this song. For a moment, okay, for a moment with this song and in the Iggy Azalea verse of it all, you kind of understand for just a moment, like, okay, you see why they try to make her a thing for a time. You see why they try to make Iggy Azalea a thing before we realize, we're the cultural appropriation of it all.
I think she's ancillary to their enjoyment of it. Like I think it's more critics trying to foist Ariana Grande. Like they've always tried to find an in with her.
This is true. And critics really want to love Ariana Grande. They do.
we Pitchfork is. I don't know if we're gonna Thank You Next 2019 because I think we're gonna talk about that.
That's 2018.
19. It's 19.
We're gonna talk about Thank You Next because Pitchfork gave that best new track.
Like an 8.2. Or something.
Everyone was like, guys,
an emo music score.
Sweetener is gonna go down as a classic, okay? Who the fuck is still talking about Sweetener?
I think
it's my favorite Ariana record.
It's good, but like it's fucking Ariana Grande. She's never risen above pretty good. And that's her problem.
I've talked about this on Best New Podcast for some weird reason. Oh, that's right. We were doing the Death Dynamic Shroud record that like takes a lot of 2010s pop.
8.1. Fuck.
My thing with Ariana Grande is I think she has a really, really good voice that is put towards ends that I'm not interested in, right? Like, more than I like any Ariana Grande song, I like the one edit of Ariana Grande set to Aphex Twin that sounds like Pink Pantheress. And that's just a real great example of like, she has this voice that is so good, particularly in the way that it can kind of, the metaphor I've always used is it's like she's always on a Lakitu cloud, you know, the little guy from Mario that floats around on the cloud in like Mario Kart. Like her feet, it's like her feet never touch the ground. Like her voice is always like above the track, like floating above it. And that's a thing that's much harder to do than she looks. And she's got like a couple of tracks like Dangerous Woman or whatever that I think have like sneakily really great top lines, and like she's a good pop songwriter, but then the songs have production like this. And I'm always just like, what the fuck are we doing here? Can someone with like half decent taste please get Ariana Grande's number? Like that's kind of like whenever she collabs with someone like Cashmere Cat or whatever, it sounds pretty fucking great. And I really think that there's an alternate universe where she does become like the critically acclaimed, like there's another universe where if she has better taste personally, she could be in more of a Charlie lane where she's kind of like the thinking critics pop star of choice, and instead we get critics repeatedly trying to talk themselves into records like Eternal Sunshine that then come and go and one or two songs stick.
I wonder if the Wizard of Oz or the Wicked soundtrack will get best new track because she's on it.
Okay. This has been a crazy year for movies because I do feel like this year has multiple worst movie ever candidates. Like technically every year kind of does, but this feels like a year of just like really big movies that have potential to be just like all-time bombs in its own way. Like obviously right now Joker 2 has bombed horribly. Critics hate it, audience hates it, flops the box office, and then Wicked I'm praying. All right,
you're not getting. The thing is,
Wicked is going to make $1 billion, and people are going to walk out of the sequel to it going, "What the fuck was that?"
Matty, you're so wrong about this.
I'm calling to you right now. Wicked flop, please.
The movie is ending on the best song in the musical. People are going to walk out of there with like an A++ cinema score. The problem is that the sequel is going to be a fucking nightmare because that's when all the bad songs nobody remembers.
I also think that I don't care about Wicked at all. I'm with you, Matty. I'm not saying like it's going to be. I'm saying that like it's gonna print money. Like, it doesn't need to. It's like the Lion King remake. Like, everyone hated that, and they all went to go see it.
That was 2019 though. That was such a different time.
I think
we have another Lion King remake that's gonna make like $1 billion coming out this year.
Maddie, you know what the highest grossing? Maddie, you know what the highest grossing movie this year is? It's Inside Out 2. People still like slop.
But it's good. I actually liked Inside Out too.
This one doesn't have Richard Kind. I can't trust that sort of product.
The crime of Wicked, and people have pointed this out, and we're going to move on after this. But it's one thing to take a thing and split it into two parts for no fucking reason. Like, that's bad. Stop doing that. Mm-hmm. But to take a thing that's one thing and split it into two parts, and then make the first part 2 hours and 40 minutes, go fuck yourself. Like, actually go jump off a bridge.
That's why,
Matty, you're getting your hopes up. I'm telling you, accept that Wicked is going to make a lot of money and Donald Trump might win the presidency. Like just make peace with the bad things that are probably about to happen this fall, and including Wicked making money.
Again, I'm still. Here's the thing. You all are not wrong. It's like, because again, it's a 50-50. I think there's a 50-50 chance that it's a huge success, box office wise. But I don't know. I'm looking at those trailers. I'm looking at how bad it looks. I'm just
Matty, you are going to be
it's coming out
wrong.
Years.
Just save yourself now. Save yourself now.
This is the opposite, the exact opposite of what happened on Blank Check when The Lion King was coming out, and Griffin was like, it's going to be the highest grossing movie of all time. Like, he was convinced it was going to be #1 all-time box office, that it was going to, like, and so it was the reverse of this. You were like, it's going to flop, and it's going to be in between those two things, right? Like, it's going to do well enough that they'll be happy, but people are going to be like, that was okay, I guess, whatever.
Remember this, listeners. Remember this in a few months. We'll see who's right.
We'll see who's right. I think Ariana Grande... This song, I mean, we're gonna get to most 2014 later. This is just like there are a few things more dated than a pop song that is just of an era that just ages very strangely. And I think this record is, of all of the Ariana Grande, like, this is the one that has Bang Bang with Jessie J and Nicki Minaj on it. It has the Zed collab. It is
Zed song's good.
There's a I'm not saying that all of these are bad. I'm just saying all of them are preposterously 2014. Like, Childish Gambino being on there, The Weeknd being on there, Big Sean being on there, ASAP Ferg is on that record.
That's crazy. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on.
We have one less problem.
We can't win.
We have one less problem now that we've moved on from that song, but we have one more problem.
Yes.
I have one fear.
We talked about this. We talked about this on Rap Forum Veterans, but we had to torture Rose with this one. It's Down on My Luck by Vic Mensa. Since me and Jackie we've already talked about the song, we've talked about the Vic Mensa experiment at length on Rap Forum Veterans. I want to, you know what, Rose, we're going to delay. I'm going to make your torture even longer. I'm going to delay your thoughts. Aly, your thoughts on Down on My Luck by Vic Mensa, because I feel like I heard some groaning and moaning from you on this song.
Yeah, the horrible thing is I liked it a lot when I first heard it. The novelty of just like, it's like how I used to think I was a Christian, but I just liked music. I thought I liked the song, but I just like the beat. I just like dance music that doesn't have Vic Mensa kind of mumbling about something on it. And it's funny how, he should have done a whole album of this instead of that rap rock band, and it still would have been bad, but it wouldn't have been as bad. But it's still bad, or at least I don't like it. Leave it in 2014. We can keep it buried in there. We don't need it to come back like Night of the Living Dead. It's Night of the Living Vic Mensa. We don't need that. But shout out Hip House in general. There's a lot better of it out there.
I was about to say, so I had a lot of thoughts I was going to share about K Tronada until I realized he did not produce this song.
It's K Tronada Walmart.
But did a Vic Mensa song. Women
that
Now.
Happened later, yes.
Women Now.
Oh, and Drive Me Crazy was the one I was thinking of.
Oh, yeah.
But no, yeah, like, I 100% agree. it's not that this lane was like so good that he would have been great if he had stayed in this lane, but it certainly works better from him than the many other outfits he has tried on over the last several years in an attempt to make Vic Mensa happen one way or another.
Like his big concept record where he tried to be like 2015's Jay-Z almost, and just like.
Are you talking about There's a Lot Going On? Is that the one you're referring to, where he has like the Tupac tattoos on his chest and the target?
No, I've not listened to it since it came out. It was called the autobiography or something. It was like.
I think he scrubbed some of his old music.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the autobiography comes after that one. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, from 2017. It's like an hour long. It's he's trying to do the pop songs, trying to do the posse cuts, trying to make anything happen, and it's just all of it's just mid.
There he is, Rivers Cuomo. Rivers Cuomo is on that record. What the fuck?
Oh my god. That's like fucking Ben Gibbard being on the fucking Chance the Rapper
kill me,
I Love
dude.
My Wife record.
Just kill me now. Please. Just gun. Head. Done. No more. Vic Mensa featuring Rivers Cuomo. Things that should not exist on this earth.
That's up there with Chance the Rapper and Ben Gibbard in the cursed 2010s Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Things to make me specifically upset. That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
Why is his name all caps too? Why is he still doing that?
Because he's trying different stuff. He keeps. There has never been anyone in my lifetime.
Victor? What?
More obviously.
I like how he started on a series. Go back to the page. He seems to have started on a series to spell out his own name. So it's the V tape, the I tape, the C tape never came out. That just never happened.
That's the 50 States project we don't talk about. We never finished Vic Mensa's name.
Oh, but this came out before the song with Kanye too.
But this is what I'm saying, that
93 punks. We all remember his era when he tried to be a biker.
You saying that he started something that he didn't finish is the whole every single record is him trying to be no, I'm this now. and then the next record is then him again being no, I'm this now. And none of it works. It's all trying on clothes that don't fit and trying to fit himself. And he's not absolutely horrible at some of the things but he's not good enough at any of them to worth digging through all of these records, you know?
I just had a visceral reaction to seeing him put Tom Morello and Francis on the Lights on back-to-back tracks on a record as guest features. That's wow, that's just...
That album also has Good Charlotte, I'm now seeing. What the fuck?
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, my God. Anyway, the only thing I can associate Vic Mensa with is he has one guest verse on a record that I happen to like that I think is just so deeply embarrassing. And it's shown as this big moment of we got Vic Mensa, guys. I can't remember what song it is, but it's on fucking Injury Reserve's Floss, and he just drops the line, "We used to vacay in Jamaica, now Jamaican me crazy," and that just I'm truly
that's a Bound
what are we doing here, man? What are we doing here, man?
That's a Big Sean line, is what that is. That is a Big Sean line.
That's a Cruel Summer ass line.
It's just oh my God, what is this fucking guy's deal? Who does he think he is? Who do you think you are, Vic Mensa?
He doesn't know. That's what I'm trying to say. He got a lot of industry weight put behind him, and he got a lot of shine by being near a lot of guys that mattered, and so people were he's supposed to be something, right? And it's just been throwing fucking spaghetti at the wall ever since. And
that's an insult to spaghetti, to compare that to Vic Mensa.
It's true. But
I on a windshield.
I liked this song at the time. I will 100%.
I still like this song.
Well.
It's still a good song.
I think for me, it's not as dated as the song we just talked about, but I have had a very interesting arc with Catronata type beats in my life. Even though this is not actually Catronata, this is Omas Keith and a couple of other people. But this whole hip house sound that I do like a fair amount, but I also just think just really got stuck in a rut in the later half of the 2010s, because Catronata was a producer I truly loved at the time, and over time nothing was funnier this year than Catronata releasing an album called Timeless when few music sounds exactly like the 2010s in the way that Kaytranada does. But like, yeah, like this sound is just like, we talked about Run the Jewels last week. It's just hard for me to do like the mental math of how I received this at the time. Because now when I hear sort of pop, dance, hip house music like this, I can just think of all the things I like that sound like this better. But even like things like this at the time, like I think Gold Link is a great example of someone who
just pulled him up. Yeah.
who did exactly what Vic Mensa was trying to go for, but like actually committed to it for longer than one song and like saw it through to like some not amazing but like solid results, you know?
I liked that record back when it came out. More like, and it's definitely aged similarly kind of poorly or like very datedly.
Well, look, he's had a couple different, like, that's the thing is like he actually
this is
had
just one record.
a second life. Gold Link did.
Like At What Cost and even Diaspora were both cool records, and he's like kept on doing stuff that's been interesting, unlike a lot of the Vic Mensa machine.
100%, yeah, exactly. Like he's an actual artist that, or like this also the other thing I thought of listening to this song was Amine and the whole era of like that kind of stuff in the 2010s. This feels
Caroline.
This feels really, really dated to me in that way. And it's not even bad. It's just like, it's hard for me to not feel like this is like out of step now a little bit.
None of you are wrong. Like, it is of its time, and like it is firmly stayed in that time. I still like it. I'll still relay the thoughts I had, where it's like, yeah, Vic Mensa is definitely a real what could have been, but you know, like I like the song. I kind of wish he made more stuff like it, but of course, like I think I would have liked it at the time, whereas now, like, yeah, that hip hop, the hip house sound is just like instantly dated. Just like, no, I think there's much more interesting ways to incorporate dance music and hip hop together than
once you get to Chance the Rapper All Night, which is not even a bad song. That's just like the wheels come off on the sound.
I think it's the same producer as Down on My Luck, or one of the same people.
I All Night is a Kaytranada beat. Like,
oh, okay, that actually is Kaytranada. Okay,
that's actually Kaytranada, as opposed to this being Kaytranada-ish. Although we're a little.
I thought it was like the Peter Cottontail.
We're right before in that scene when Kaytranada starts really cresting. Obviously I'm not keeping up with Vic Mensa these days. The album artwork for this Victor album looks like those pictures of Jesus Christ where someone is taking heroin and Jesus is like putting his arm in front of the person who's trying to do heroin. You know what I'm talking about? Like that's that's what the Victor album.
Damn, Vic, you live like this?
Looks like
it's like it's what you find on Facebook nowadays.
Yeah, it looks like if Vic Mensa died, someone would post this painting on Facebook and be like, "R.I.P. Vic Mensa."
Yeah, never good when your art is compared to Facebook AI slop. Like, never a good sign. I was trying to say this earlier. I'm looking at the album cover for the autobiography by Vic Mensa. If you have not seen that album cover, recommend pulling it up, because it's crazy to how you're ripping off Logic somehow. Like, I look at this and I'm like, wow, this is a Logic ripoff. Like, that's how bad it is.
It's a little Logic ripoff. It's also definitely him, like, after doing his whole, like, punk thing, immediately restarting and being like, actually, I'm Kendrick, and this is my Good Kid, Mad City, and I'm going to tell you the story of my life. Like, that's really what that record feels like to me. It's like him getting The Dream and Chief Keef and Joey Perp and Weezer for some reason, and trying to make like a big statement hip hop record. It's like a literal autobiography about my life. But like, that's the thing, is that all of his ideas are so half baked that you can see the thought process. Like, you can see him being like, what if I did this? And because he didn't see it all the way through, you're just kind of getting that sketch, you know?
He titled his autobiography The Autobiography. That's how deep it goes.
Yeah,
as told by Vic Mensa. It's
like if you're
that's the whole point of an autobiography, is that it's you.
Well, you know, I'm glad Vic Mensa's telling me, because I was worried. I was worried there was going to be somebody else's story.
Michael, what are your thoughts on Vic Mensa? We're all getting really fired up right now. What do you have to say about?
I wanted to stay out of the line of fire for as long as I could. I like this song more
Thank you,
than
Michael.
I care to ever admit. But
Thank you, Michael.
I am with
One
you a
of
little
us.
bit, Matty. Vic Mensa certainly benefited from the good grace that Chance the Rapper earned from critics at this time as much as anybody else. I do still like the early Vic Mensa stuff, like the internet tape back when he was more with that throwback style of rap. I loved this song at the time. It sounds very 2014 to me. I don't know. Vic Mensa was somebody I rooted for, but then we found out he doesn't really have anything all that interesting to say. That's just how it goes sometimes. Thankfully, I did not buy Vic Mensa stock. I had the casino stock. Couple years later, flipped the house, tried to get as much Absol stock as I could, which also did not pan out well. You know how many people want to talk about Absol's pineal gland in 2024? Nobody.
We need to have you on.
You've come to the place, buddy.
Oh my God.
So we've talked about wanting to do this, but we're gonna do a Rap Forum Veterans Where Are They Now, where we brave the task of listening to the new Absol music that's being released in the 2020s and stuff like that. But yeah, you're on the right podcast of people that used to think a lot about Absol and now only think about, hey, remember when I used to think about Absol a lot?
I pre-ordered "Do What Thou Wilt" on just MP3. That's how I think we're in good company here.
This is a safe space.
Yeah.
But
Absol taught me how to think. Okay, let's get that clear.
Open your mind.
All right, and open. No, I do not want to reference the line on acid rap. I don't want to reference that line.
Hear us out.
God, hear us out. All right, let's wrap the sucker up. We got one more song. It's Caribou's "Can't Do Without You." Funny enough, we are talking about this. As Caribou's released a new record that came out just this most recent Friday.
Caribou record. Let's go.
So much fun. I love the future.
Yeah.
AI generated Caribou rap feature.
Just really, truly, I would have been so much nicer to Dan if he just didn't do that this week. All he had to do was not do that, and now I'm just like, man, do I have to talk about this?
It made me not hate the record, but think about it very differently.
I think it. Go ahead, Rizz. Go ahead.
I just from the beginning, something about that first single. I was like, this doesn't pass the smell test. There's something wrong here. It's frustrating.
Without you, at least we still have our love.
I like this tune. I like most of the old Caribou tunes. They're perfectly fine dance music. I think though, it's very clear that part of the Caribou experience is just. God damn it.
Sorry, I pulled up. I of course we're talking about Caribou, and I have to mention this article that came out in 2016.
I did not know this. Oh my god!
What the? Oh my god!
So from Stereogum, Rush Limbaugh is obsessed with Caribou. Caribou tells him to fuck off.
That's
As
I hate
as
that
Rush
I have
Limbaugh,
something in common with Rush
Caribou's
Limbaugh.
song on his show.
Yeah, he posted Caribou on his Facebook page and played it on his show. And this is the quote. Here's the thing. Who cares about our thoughts on Can't Do Without You? Let's hear Rush Limbaugh's thoughts on Can't Do Without You. Let's give a platform to this man. This is my new favorite song of all time right now, folks. I've been grooving to it
in every free moment that I have.
Rose, don't interrupt Rush.
Can't Do That.
Don't disrespect the dead, okay, Rose? Don't disrespect the dead.
I am allowed to disrespect this man all I want. I'm just trying to get it voice accurate. You need to portray angry radio guy energy. Okay.
You want to read it? You go read it. Read it, Rose.
Whoever wrote this song was really missing the babe, because that's it for 6 minutes. Can't Do Without You by a group called Caribou. It takes 2 minutes to get in the actual tune here, which we don't have. So if you want to produce a bumper here, go to about 310. Well, here's a flavor. No, take it out. Start at 310 and then give me the next 2 minutes of it.
This is like us doing indie heads. This is exactly the same thing. No, play the part of the song where this thing happens.
What?
like a
Oh,
whole review.
Snurdly wants to know. Since I can't hear new music, how did I discover this new song I'm obsessing on? I was watching one of my formerly enjoyed TV shows, How to Get Away with Murder. Have you ever seen that? And it was last week's episode and the week before. I forget which, but two lesbians are sitting in a bar. That was the scene. They're getting all touchy-feely and this techno music started. The caption had the lyrics, and the lyrics said, "Can't do without you."
On International
I said,
Lesbians
I
Day
never heard of
2.
this, so I Shazammed it. What the hell was this? There was
Tough.
dialogue, they were talking, I could just hear the bass rhythm, which is what hooked me. So I Shazammed it, and Shazam told me it was I Can't Do Without You by Caribou. So I went and looked, and there's two versions. There's a single and an extended mix, which is 6 minutes. The extended mix is this one. I said, we're going to make a bump out of this. You need my guidance on this. We can't escape the vocals, but they're not obtrusive. It would be just like when I was watching Scene on the TV show. They kept talking. You couldn't hear the vocals. It won't matter. It's actually cool.
I like Caribou. I don't want to. That's so funny. Oh my god. I wanted
Glenn
to.
Beck is obsessed with Muse. Hang on.
Well,
Wait,
but duh, bro.
That
makes
one's not
sense.
surprising. That one doesn't surprise me.
You should know that instinctually, even if you didn't know that fact.
Matt Bellamy probably loves Glenn Beck back.
You should understand that Glenn Beck sees the album cover with the joysticks, and he's like, "Yep, that's what society's like. They're
It's just like
controlling your
jacking off a
brains."
Joy-Con.
This is important knowledge because now I can, going forward, be like, Rush Limbaugh, you mean the Caribou fan? Like that Norm Macdonald joke?
Oh, yeah. It's crazy
You
to know this,
hated-
Jackie.
Sounds
This
like a pretty bad
is
guy.
good lore.
I've always liked Caribou, but I also wasn't like, I kind of came around to Caribou later, and I will share your sentiments that, like, the AI shit is, like, annoying, and not even because I have, like, a hardline stance on using it for any reason. I think the reason why he uses it on the new record is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
It's just like, he's like, well, I didn't want to sing on this record, but it's like, you've sang on other records of yours.
You
that
sing
you've
on
had-
this record.
You have
like,
guest
the specific
vocalists.
thing he said is he found the limits of his voice, and it's just like, dude, get a fucking guest vocalist. Like, every artist of your genre has done this always. Like,
And he's
there's a
done it even
time
too,
immemorial
you know?
tradition.
I'm not, like, fully against it in principle. I also haven't spent enough time with it to really, but, like, it is a bummer just because it really felt like if this record had hit the right way, we would be having a Caribou renaissance right now, because both the last Caribou record, Suddenly, which came out in 2020 and I think is really, really, really good, and the Daphne record from 2022, which is got Best New Music, I think.
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
Yeah, and that record fucking rocks. Like, that's one of the best things he's made in a really long time. It's him just going, like, real fun, light dance music mode. And similarly, Suddenly is an album where he's, like, trying a lot of stuff and really shaking up the Caribou formula in ways that are interesting. And then he extrapolated that into this new record, which is a bit of a bummer. But, yeah, I still love Caribou. I'm not gonna throw out my copy of Our Love just because he might have dropped some AI mid, you know. But I think this is kind of peak Caribou for me. Like, I wasn't on the Swim train, and I like that record, but I think that record's a little more sedate. This is like a pretty chilled out song too, but like this is a version of their chilled out kind of sound that works for me. I think this song has always reminded me of is Loud Places by Jamie XX. They feel very of a piece to me, of the same sort of era, like that wistful, we're at the rave, but we're not really at the rave. We're sad and at home, and we know that we're sad.
There's pain in this world, but not in this room.
There's
The
pain
love
in
is
this world,
flowing.
but we're not in the room. We're not in the room where there's no pain. We're at home thinking about the room where there's no pain, feeling pain.
We're conceptualizing the rave. We're building it in our mind's eye.
My
that
mind
is
palace is a
Burial.
room with no pain, but I'm
we
at
talked
home.
about Burial on the last mainline episode, and Caribou's a different version of like dance music for people that don't go to dance clubs, right? It's like headphone dance music, stuff that's a little more textured, a little more kind of indie leaning, Fortet adjacent, you know. He's always been kind of in that world of guys where he's a little more pop than kind of the left field electronic guys, but also a little more left field than your typical crossover dance guys, like compared to say Disclosure, who we talked about on the last mainline episode. Like this was always more pitched for the heads, but also obviously it was mainstream and wide appealing enough that even Rush Limbaugh, watching his favorite program, was able to get into it, right?
In a scene with lesbians too.
It's a little anodyne. it's a little like, I could totally understand if your reaction to this is like, this is kind of boring and sleepy and pretty, but not really doing anything interesting. But I think it's neat. I've always liked this tune a fair bit.
I love this record. Yeah, you summed it up.
Yeah. Again, good track, good song. Any final lingering thoughts from the panel before we get into our final questions of the evening?
It's funny that we got kind of over the top, like clubby Caribou records and Jamie XX records this year, and they're both like kind of falling flat. AI stuff aside, just like musically, compared to stuff even like this, so like kind of like the heyday.
Yeah, I
like
think
both records are okay, but the Fred identification of mainstream, like, or kind of like all like just dance music in general has gone too far.
We talked about this a little last week, and we're going to talk about it more when we get to Jamie XX. There's a little bit of me that is suspicious that it's probably more a me problem than a him problem. It's a little bit that, like, when I was in high school, like, I was interested in these crossover wide appeal records because I was not yet in the weeds of being a dork to the degree that I am now. And so I was never gonna like the JVXX follow. Like, even if it was really good, I was gonna be a little underwhelmed by it compared to like how much it broke my brain in high school. But we'll get to In Color and Jamie. But I think that's actually a great comparison. Like, they're both guys that like were at the time hailed as like, this ain't your ultra festival EDM. This is tasteful with a capital T. Like, this is
the thinking man's club music,
sophisticated. And now I'm at an era of my life where I have no interest in sophistication in my dance music. I either want to be having a really fun zany time or want to be listening to sophisticated stuff elsewhere. And now a lot of what felt to me as like groundbreaking feels like middlebrow, which is how I know a lot of people that weren't into Caribou or Jamie XX, they were like, yeah, that's fine, but that's kind of like middle of the road sort of stuff. And I didn't see the light at the time, and now I'm like, okay, I understand why people were kind of mixed on this. But yeah, at the time, this was a big deal. Caribou was a big deal at the time, and always a band that Pitchfork has liked through all of its iterations. Like,
back since the Manitoba days, baby.
They were on board for Swim. They were on board for this record. I think they were pretty positive on Suddenly, very positive on the Daphne record. They've always given him
almost every record of his up until this one has gotten like a really high score, if not a best new music, or like like a reissued.
I didn't
like a best
mention
new
this
reissue.
When we talked about Angel Olsen, but I don't really think that she gets thought of as like a Pitchfork artist, but it is actually crazy what a fucking run she went on, where like, I think it was it's like 4 records in a row, or 3 records in a row that are best new music, and all 3 of them get multiple best new tracks. Like, they were like really, really in they were so in the bag for her that they gave that Mark Ronson collab best new track. Like,
it's a good. I think it's a good track. It's a good track. I get it.
It's pretty good. But
yeah,
8.6 for this album is crazy.
That is pretty crazy.
Also, Owen Pallett being on it, that's also very 2014.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And Jesse landed to an extent too.
It's a really good like meeting point between a sort of twee indie pop and like tasteful dance music that feels very 2010s, just very like of its time, and for better and for worse. I think Our Love is a better track than this one of the like 2 big jams from, but Can't Do Without You. I get why it's like the Caribou song. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, but let's ask the question that we're asking at the end of every episode, although we're flipping it because it is no longer 2013. We are now asking the question of most 2014 songs. So I will kick it off to our special guest, Michael Brooks. 3 questions for you. What is your favorite track this week? What's your least favorite? And what song here is the most 2014 song of the week?
Okay, so for favorite track, I'm gonna have to go DeLorean Dynamite.
Ooh, good choice.
That's the one for me. Least favorite track, I'm gonna have to go with Repeat Pleasure, the How to Dress Well song, which I don't know, at least to my ears, kind of scans as we have J. Paul at home. At least that's how I heard it.
That is totally fair.
And I'll tell you what, I love a number of How to Dress Well songs, and I love that first record. I like songs on this record, but not this one.
Totally fair.
Most 2014 is tough. I am kind of torn between Ariana Grande and Vic Mensa, but I think the Iggy Azalea of it all, I'll have to give it to Problem.
Yeah, and Aly, the question is off to you.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I didn't have to go first because I was thinking hard about it. Honestly, my favorite song is either maybe Ben's Friendz, just because that one I hadn't listened to that in so long, but otherwise Habit is like just been such a go-to. I just love that first on record so much. Least favorite, because I'm probably gonna say Problem is the most 2014 just because of the jank ass big ass sax riff that makes me want to die. I think Talking Backwards is kind of my least favorite because it's like, as we kind of talked about, it's like by this point it's just like the third album of Real Estate kind of doing the same thing with very subtle shading differences, and it's not enough to make it interesting to me. And I'd like the previous two records more. It's just like, it also feels very 2014 in a way, but like in a way that didn't go away. Whereas like the Problem, like Iggy Azalea feature, sax riff, Big Sean whispering in your ear like the Yin Yang Twins, except weirder. That kind of dissolved away and didn't keep up in pop and even in Ariana Grande's music especially. But like Real Estate has just kind of made the same record again and again, and it's always been like, all right. And I've just never really got them, especially for like a band that wasn't just like, oh, they're like an 8.1 or even like a low best new music. They got like 8.8s and 8.7s, and like, oh, am I supposed to be like, are the lyrics supposed to make me feel something here?
I feel like it's got to be higher than it. I feel like there was one that got into the 9, but I'm going to double check.
Atlas was the highest at 8.8, if my autism brain is serving me correctly.
Let's see. Atlas got a waiting for
and Dave's got 8.7.
Both best new music. Yep.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's some crazy business.
They went 4 in a row. Yeah, Diary, LP2, Real Estate, Days, and Atlas all got best new music. That's pretty fucking wild.
Yeah.
I truly forgot they went this hard in the pocket for them.
Sunny Day Real Estate, much better housing themed band.
I agree also. But
no, and yeah, as I kind of spoiled, Problem is my vote for most 2014 song of it all. Even if, I'll echo even like the Vic Mensa and to a degree like the Caribou song, and a lot of these are all just feel very of their time, whether I like them or not. And that's the reason why I don't like a lot of them as much as I probably did when they first came out, because this was like peak. I am logging on to Pitchfork every night before bed to see what reviews and tracks are going on and what's getting the big sticker of best new whatever, and trying to gaslight myself into thinking it's the greatest thing before I finally realized I don't have to think that. I can have my own mind.
Rose, your picks this week.
I mean, let's just get it out of the way. Problem most 2014. It's like not even a competition. The song has literally every detail you could ask for that would make it 2014. The Big Sean whispers, the saxophone, the fucking Iggy Azalea verse, like that right there. Like you carbon dated to the exact year when Iggy Azalea verse would be even remotely considered cool.
You also got like Shellback involved in the production. It's just really like a who's who of like bad 2010s. Yeah, Max Martin is also partly responsible for this. We've got
Max Martin is a timeless plague, though. We've just come to accept him as an immemorial hit maker. He's fucking. But worst song of the week, probably also a problem. I'm not legally allowed to say what my other contender would be in this case.
Just say it. If
it's habit on. It makes my tummy hurt. That song makes my tummy hurt. I don't like it. It makes me upset spiritually speaking. But favorite song of the week, it's probably Ocean Death. Like without a question, that's just like one of the great bath songs. It's one of the great songs of 2014. Special honors to Benz Friendz and Little Fang, which both of those just also like timelessly fun tunes. It's pretty good week. Still waiting for the hits. Like we are T-2 playlists away from where the series just gets into chaotic.
Yes. Yes, it's again the
2014
ones.
Episodes, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. Jackie, your picks this week.
All right, my picks this week. Favorite song of the week is, as I said earlier, Habit. I did not expect that at all going in. I expected like, oh yeah, I like that will be a song that I enjoy, and that song just really clicked for me in a way that it hadn't before, so that was cool. That's probably my favorite of the week for that reason. I shout out to Ocean Death and Ben's Friends, but I think are both solid contenders as well. My least favorite song, it just has to be Problem, just because it's the only one of these that I like shudder when it comes. I think for worst, like it all depends on, we've talked about this in previous weeks, it's like, do you judge worse as the one that is Go Girl giving you the least, in which case then Real Estate is like a very reasonable answer, but like I wasn't really upset about Real Estate, whereas Problem was spiritually disheartening to have to revisit. And so I'm going to pick that. It's not very interesting, but I also, anything else would feel like I'm hating, like I could say Vic Mensa, but I don't actually think that's the worst song of the week. No. So, yeah, then most 2014, I do have to say Vic Mensa because it wasn't Catronata, but sounded like it was, and I think that alone is saying a lot about. Although I think Move That Dope is also pretty 2014, not just because Casino is there, but like that beat,
the Gandalf hat too.
Everything about it feels very of that era of hip hop, kind of between the early 2010s blog rap guys and the future Young Thug wave that is about to just completely take over hip hop like next year / this year. So yeah, I think it's probably one of those two. But Problem is also, it's very dated. Like like that sounds exactly like this time, derogatory for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I have to go with the consensus for most 2014. It's Problem. It's not encased in amber. It's just like, it's just badly preserved. It's like, well, that's definitely from 2014, and the preservation shows it. Least favorite this week. This is tough because I kind of do generally like everything on this playlist. There's not really any bad tracks here. If I do have to pick a least favorite, it is probably Talking Backwards. Like, just because that's the one where I feel the most nothing to it, where it's just like everything else I have some feelings about. This is just like, it's fine, it's pleasant, I have nothing to say beyond that. If anyone that works at my company is listening, I'm just kidding. Please go buy Real Estate records on vinyl, guys. Please do that. Go to your Domino Records and find all these LPs
Matty's
available.
in his corporate shill era. He no longer has opinions on music. He's just telling you to buy the products, folks.
Yeah. And then my favorite track this week is probably My favorite this week is Problem. No, I'm just kidding. My favorite this week, honestly, it's tough. I you know what? I'm gonna cop out and I'm gonna do a 4-way tie this week because I think I like the 4 songs here for all very different reasons. I'm just gonna go in order when we talked about them. White Fire, Angel Olsen, a song that if I'm in the fucking dumps, this is a song that I'm listening to. Just really incredible track. Little Fang, what a great pick me up. Really fantastic. Animal Collective, in that Animal Collective song, one of my favorite tracks from Avey overall. If I had to pick my absolute favorite, like gun to my head, it's probably Have I Ought. Ought, very important band to me. Great song, although I prefer Sun Coming Down and Room Inside the World, personally speaking. And then Ocean Death by Baths is incredible. Just, again, the textural work and just the way it builds up is just really, really insane. But yeah, overall, good playlist this week. Before we get to next week, though, Michael, we're going to start with you. Anything you want to plug before we head out?
Yeah, I guess if you like listening to podcasts about music, you can listen to the one I co-host, Endless Scroll. If you,
now I'm hearing that music intersects with something on your podcast.
Yes,
I'm hearing that.
Well, our tagline is a podcast about music, the internet, and where those two things intersect. I don't know how hard we follow that rule, but certainly if you're on music Twitter, I think you will enjoy the stuff we talk about. And then I'm online pretty much everywhere as No Michael Brooks. You can find me there on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd. Maybe Letterboxd is what I should be plugging. I'm trying to, Jackie, I know you know this. I'm trying to enter my Sean Fennessy era. Yeah. I'm ready to leave behind music. I want to talk about movies.
The big pictures, baby. The silver screen.
And right, everybody's doing it. Everybody say 2024 movies are having a year. We're finally ready to say it.
Yeah, movies are back, baby. I this was a great episode. Michael, I'm sorry, I'm starting this out. We didn't do pros.
Aly, what anything you got to plug?
I'm online too, unfortunately. I don't have I'll double up plugging Endless Scroll just because I've been a fan of both Endless Scroll and Indie Heads for a hot minute, so it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. The podcast I do is only about bands from Minneapolis and Minnesota, pretty much. But
hell yeah,
we've been interviewing them for 7 years now, and so if you want,
have you had Natalie on the podcast?
No,
no. Natalie's in Minneapolis now. You got to have Natalie on your pod.
I read the Alan Sparhawk piece, and I was I almost went to that show. Oh my god, that we will network later. But
yes.
We've been interviewing local bands for a hot minute, and I think we have a lot of cool bands that nobody else knows about, it feels like. Some of them we had to delete because every local music scene does that, but that's neither here nor there. It's called Ear Coffee. Check it out if you want. We do all kinds of silly things. But otherwise, I just write for a lot of different places. You can find me on Twitter. Purity Olympics is...
including Pitchfork.
The nom de plume.
We shouted it out earlier this episode, but I really enjoyed your review of the new Pharrell Ula record. As a longtime Ula stan myself, Ula Strauss, goated. We all know this.
I love both of them so much, and it was... Yeah, no, thank you. That's very sweet. No, but listen to Jazz Plates. I don't think it's on streaming, but just buy it. It's really good. It got me the Joshua Minsu Kim follow. He DM'd me at 3 a.m. saying good job, and I was like, I've made it.
Coming up next week, of course, we're continuing on our 2014 journey. There's I mean, I don't even want to spoil next week. We talk about Shmoney Dance next week. That's a song we talk about. Next week is Shmoney Dance by Bobby Shmurda.
How do we talk about Shmoney Dance? How on earth?
We talk about 2 FK Twig songs. It's
a lot happening.
It's going to be a time.
But this was a great episode. I am so glad that we had the head of Prester John Hive here for this magical occasion in which I liked my second Animal Collective related song. I think it is really, really, really funny that in the course of this show, you guys have made me listen to several Animal Collective things, and the only 2 things to click for me were a song from Centipede Hurts and a song from Avey Tare's Slasher Flicks.
Listen,
I'm as confused as you are. I don't understand
so far. That those
tracks,
trends
honestly.
match.
Yeah, I whenever, it's not that I don't like the Beach Boys-iness of Animal Collective or that I don't like the weirdness. It's I've said this before, it's the tastes don't go together for me the way that they seem to for other people. But I've always wanted to like them more than I have. I smoke too much weed to dislike them as much as I do. But, you know, we're all complex creatures full of nuances and contradictions, and that's what this podcast is about occasionally.
We all contain multitudes.
Exactly.
Yeah, but thank you for listening to this podcast if you're still listening, and tune in again next week, as we said, for another great episode about Pitchfork Best New Tracks. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I say there's no one about you, but now there's a place above that line. Now I could have known you, the truth could never come without your side. And I should have warned you, and then on there's an enemy left behind. And an innocent side, I wanted all of this to never subside. I never wanna miss a moment of life. That your nectar gives us on to the night. And now I know, oh, if you want it once, you want it more, baby. Once you got it, you want something else. Even if you're holding on for something unchanging, and once you got it, you want something else. Oh, if you want it once, you want it more, baby. But once you got it, you want something else. Even if you're holding on for something unchanging, and once you got it, you want something else.